on with you?
Yo, another day in the lab, baby. So it's always a good day.
Oh,
it's always a good day when we in the lab. You want policing to be better in your communities? The best policing that you can that can happen in any community are people that's actually from the community and that.
Once again, Rick, host BNY Podcast, now known as What Effing Week with BNY Dev. How you feeling, man?
I'm in here.
What's good, comment section?
Yeah.
Do we drag our people down when sometimes they don't deserve it? All right, sorry about that. I was muted. We live, baby. How's everybody doing?
Good. Glad to be back.
Good. Everybody out there on the internet, I just want to make sure you can hear me. Give us a thumbs up. If not, just give us a thumbs down, one of the two. We had some audio issues, had to change on Angela's mic. I think we're fine now. There's always some behind-the-scenes podcast stuff, but we're here.
We're here.
Fine.
Yo, Greg, Angela, Carlos, I appreciate all y'all for the past week and a half. Greg, I just mentioned that too long ago. We sat down. Shout out to B Donut.
Yeah,
you real popular man up there.
I cycle there every Sunday. I make sure I burn those calories when I ride that bike. So. That's why I ride.
Yeah, Angela, thank you very much too for was cycling through a few people and Carlos said recommend your name. I was like, yeah, Angela would be. You always been in the comment section supporting the podcast for a couple years now, so definitely appreciate that. And finally, your first appearance, first of many. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Round of applause. Thank you. Yeah, I know Carlos, so.
Family out here.
Yeah. Dude, how many podcasts we done now? It's probably like 10, something like that.
Something around there.
Yeah.
We've been talking about a lot of Charles County stuff out here.
Mm-hmm. I remember the one over the summertime that we did at my man Brian's house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite ones. That's one of my favorite podcasts.
That was a podcast you had brought up to me when you first saw us.
Oh, with Joe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the first one you ever saw?
That's the first time.
It was a great one, wasn't it?
The comment section was buzzing the next day.
I love the comment section.
Yo, comment section lit. Comment section
Y'all
already in
my
here.
heart out here.
Speaking of which, we got 14 in here. We got comments popping off. You can go and start asking your questions to either Angela, Greg, Carlos. But if you're watching this, please give us a share. We're live on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and obviously on Facebook too. So thank you very much. All right, this is what I want to do. I want to go around the room. I have everybody go from Greg, Angela to Carlos. I want you to introduce yourself, give a little background on how you got involved with Charter and just where you stand at as far as you want it, you don't want it, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So, Greg, the floor is yours, my friend.
Greg Waring, member of the Charles County Charter Board. I'm one of the 2 District 4 representatives. I don't know where I'm supposed to be looking. I don't know where I'm supposed to be looking. First time in the cave.
Check the camera.
But District 4 representative, fortunate to be selected as chair, working with a good group of 12 members. I support Charter. That's why I signed up through the appointment process to join the board. And I support it for a number of different reasons, including, which is not so sexy to talk about sometimes, is just how much more efficient I think government's going to be with a separate management piece and then a focused legislature that can actually pass laws on Charles County's behalf. And, just a chance for residents to write the rules of the road for how their government's supposed to work for them. So I'm supportive, obviously, and I need June to get here because it's been a long slog. We've done 17 board meetings.
Oh, gosh.
17
board meetings and 4 public hearings. I'm enjoying it. It's like civics on steroids. the official ones that were required in the resolution. We've done as one individual. I've done 43 charter related meetings, counting community conversations like your group, counting town halls, counting HOA meetings. I added it up. It's 43 meetings.
We get less engagement from elected officials.
Well, we're watching what's going on, and we're trying to model something that's better, right? I think that's the whole point of charter. But I think both of y'all have some views that we've taken very seriously in my interactions with you two, so I'm excited about this.
Angela, floor is yours.
So everybody knows.
Come a little bit closer to the mic.
I started. Spit. Right. Test me tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
With Derek Terry, and I was in some, but leaning on the negative side of it.
Well,
one
you know,
second.
you and I.
Yeah, go ahead. Angela, talk to that mic. I'm gonna do some things from the background.
Okay, I need to talk in this mic. Go ahead, Greg.
No, you and I talked in October.
Yes.
After we did a Cobb Island event, and you said, "Hey, can you come out to ours?" And I said, "Let's make it happen." And,
Yep.
and you set that up.
Yeah, at the
And that-
RWCC meeting.
and it was awesome.
And you came out.
Yep.
So we had a pretty good turnout.
Yep.
It's your turn now.
All right, cool. There we go. So yeah, as many people know, Carlos Chow's overall Charles County crazy activist, out here. Just, I wouldn't say I am for or against charter at this moment. One of my biggest goals is to get more people to advocate for what should be in the charter and to take part of the process, give ideas, not just say for or against. I think for me personally right now, I don't agree with people saying that they're for charter or against charter until the final document is out, because I think that's when people should determine whether they support or don't support. I just think right now we should have people who say what charter should have in it, should you have X, Y, or Z, what should be taken out, things like that. I think that's the most important at the moment.
I guess I have. So I'm in county for a very long time, and COVID became active at that point forward. Got drug back. Carter, Greg, over last year. She said it's still.
All right, so this is what we want to do. Well, I try to figure out what's going on.
Last year, so there. Let's go on.
Yeah,
to the
pass
next
mic.
thing. Enough about me.
Pass mic. Sorry about that. We had some tech. That's why we got to start off a little bit later. But to make this work for the time being, do this live, we'll just share the mic back and forth between Carlos and Angela.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay with this mic?
That should be fine. That should be fine. All right, go ahead, Angela. We'll go with you and then go from there. Yes, there we go.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm done.
And they hear you. They hear you.
Okay, so just make sure the scoreboard is correct. Greg, obviously, you're the chairperson for charter, so we already know you stand at. Angela, that is a no for charter. And Carlos, there's a lot of things you just want to see added to it for you to get a yes or no.
Yep. That's
Okay.
my perspective.
As for myself, undecided voter. That's why we're here. I'm not only moderating, kind of running this thing, but one way or another, I just want to see exactly the pros, the cons. I know numbers we're still kind of working towards. Greg, we talked about that. You said that publicly on the record too. Yep. So what I want to do at this point, if you all will bear with me, see how this works. Give me a second.
So my stance has been that real excited about charter. I want to make it the best it can possibly be. So if it's going to pass, it's going to be rock solid.
And Angela's been consistent about that. When I first met you, I think it was at the D2 public hearing, Potomac Branch Library, Bryan's Road. You made that comment, right? And I think we had a great meeting. Carlos was there, and there were ideas out of that meeting that we've written into the document. But you made that point there. You made that point at the Republican Women meeting, at the Republican Democratic Central Committee meeting, and other meetings you've been at. Is, you don't have to have a position on this now. You can wait till June or November. You can be against it, but the ideas flowing are a good thing.
I'm of the idea that if you don't get involved in the process, you can't complain about it.
Yep.
So I don't want to wait until the end and then not vote or be against it, and then it be crappy and it pass. I want to be able to help build it into the best possible document. And if it passes, it passes. And then it works for those of us who vote about it as well.
Okay. Go ahead.
I would say I kind of agree with that. Of like I said, I won't say I'm for, I won't say against. I want to see the final document put out. And I think right now the biggest part is get some good stuff in there. Have conversations with the charter board, have conversations with other just people in the community to really say what you want to see and let it be the best document going forward. Because I don't know if other people share my same thought on this. On certain things, especially the accountability part, it may not be another second bite of the apple, because we see how hard it is to get accountability from current elected officials.
Right.
How would that go with the council now? Are they going to have that same mindset of, why would I put accountability on myself? So I think right now is the best opportunity to get some stuff in there.
So this is what we're going to do now. Let me hit this web page here for everyone to see.
And this is coffee, by the way, in case folks ask any questions.
Mine too. This is
So,
I was like, me too, Greg. This is coffee.
I mean, if y'all want to do Club Shay Shay and have something,
Dang.
we can do that.
I got that. I got
when
that.
are we
inside.
doing that?
But
I
this is
mean,
coffee.
the bar setup and everything.
I got that. So we had a little setback here not too long ago. So give us some time. We're building. We're growing. We're
That's how
getting
you
back
get us to
it.
say the things we shouldn't say.
All right. So can everybody see this screen here? All right. So this is the charter board screen. So what I want to do here, it's the charter board website. As you can see at charlescountymaryland.gov, and then you can see the backslash from there. I want to go through the draft sections.
Yeah.
One by one, and we can kind of talk about what you actually have in here.
Yep.
Before we start there, just from you being around with the 17 plus meetings and events you've had, what has your overall experience been as far as the public view?
I feel like it's really picked up as far as ideas and engagement, I think, since the District 2 public hearing in Bryan's Road in December. We're starting to get ideas versus no. I think the closer we get to June, our completion date, the more people are going to pay attention. Certainly when we get close to November, people will start looking at this, October and end. But starting at D2, a great turnout at Waldorf West Library in D3. We packed the room. We had to open up the other divider. And D4, I was sick. I couldn't make that. I feel like we're starting to get ideas flowing in. And the public comments, if you scroll down, you'll see the e-comments. And I give credit to Carlos and others that have been advocating. We get people that are sending in, whether it's custom letters or form letters with the issues that they care about. If you scroll down some more, like around the April timeframe, look at all these letters that are coming in. And it's about accountability. It's about transparency.
It's right here on the left,
Yeah,
correct? Okay.
yeah. If you click each one of those are submitted e-comments. We get those. They're sent to us by our clerk, but they're posted online for the public to see it. So we're reacting to a lot of these ideas. So I've been actually pleasantly surprised with the engagement since the start of the year.
Shout out to community.
I mean, it really is civics on steroids. People are really, at the same time, they're giving us ideas about charter or saying no to charter or yes. They're learning about the current government, because a lot of people don't know what code home rule is. They don't know what a board of commissioners is, right? So we're doing education, providing information, and then soliciting ideas. And it's been pretty cool for me.
I would say, to your point, I think at one of the public meetings for the Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Collins even said, like, he meets some people who think, because he's a commissioner, who work at the courthouse. So you're right. People really do not know what government they have. So y'all are doing a good job. Really,
that's what scares me,
it.
though. I'm telling you, I'm nervous about November and you look at a very generic ballot question and not know what you're reacting to.
And that's why I think the outreach has been really good. And I think it's very important for as many citizens as possible to get the word out, even the people who are against it. And the people who don't understand what kind of rule we have now, what code home rule. And we've got to learn the difference between the two so that we make an intelligent vote.
Yep, I agree with that.
All right, before we do this, I'm going to read a few comments here. Like I said, we got 21 of you in here. If you haven't liked or a reaction, it could be any reaction, that's fine. Reaction is a reaction, engagement's engagement. Comment, we'll definitely going to read these next, but please share. That way, we got Greg, chairperson of the charter board with us tonight, and Angela and Carlos. So please share the podcast so more people can get the word out. So, comment here. Kathy asks, can we actually read the emails you guys receive?
You can read the comments we receive over email, and those are the ones that we pointed to. Now, in terms of us emailing each other, I mean, you probably could put a PIA request in and get some of that stuff, and that's fine. But the things that I referenced that are being emailed over are these comments right here. So Kathy can click through every single one. Some of them from our own board members. Jim has been very active in giving us thoughts as an alternate. Jim was on the board that made the switch from commissioner to code in 2002. So over 20 years ago, we made a switch. Jim was on that board. The thoughts and ideas he's given us have been helpful. But he submits a lot of those so we can have them for the record.
It's good that you have background.
Yes.
He's got foundational background about what we are, and he can real good in.
Yeah. Yep.
Derek Terry. I'm sorry, Angela. Was that something that you want to say, or? Oh, once we get on the good groove, I'm gonna do something to fix that. But in the meantime, just bear with me. Derek Terry, DT, what's going on with you? Remember, not everyone is going to like everything or get everything you want. There has to be compromise. If you have significantly more positives or items you agree with versus negatives or disagreements, what is the real issue? Yes, yeah.
Both y'all. No,
Let me tell you that I understand that it's not going to be everything I want personally, or people who think like me want. But when I mean rock solid, I mean that we need to think comprehensively about all the things that could happen. Learn from the things that are happening right now. That all of us don't like, so that we can take steps to keep them happening.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And give the people the power to be able to do about it, because everybody in the county right now, the majority of people that I speak with want to have the ability to remove, and we don't get it. The 3 voted against it, so we don't get that. And we want to have that ability. I think for me personally, that's a deal.
Okay.
It's got to be in there.
Okay.
We have to be able to have it legally. We have the bill draft. You have the language for it. I think it should be implemented.
And can I harp on that really quickly? So yes, I won't say that's a hard line for me, because I have a whole lot of other stuff that I'm also advocating for, and also communities advocating for. The one thing I'll say to Derek about how we're not going to get everything that we want, quote unquote, I think for certain things, community sees it as this is a now or never thing. Certain parts of accountability, you're not going to get elected officials to put that in for themselves. Look at the current board. It's certain things that they're not going to do for themselves. So we have to make sure that we get those things in now, or we may never get that chance again. Even with the whole charter board review committee every so many years, we don't know how public that may be, or how much people are really directing changes into that. And it's not kind of just a performative thing in some instances. The one thing that I will say is, to your point, Angela, about the removal part, I understand that constitutionally the voters cannot decide to actually take someone out of office and hold another election. The one thing that a lot of people have been pushing for is a removal recommendation, because that is a way for voters to say, hey, look, we are discontent with the person who represents us, and we are urging the council to vote them out. And it also to your point too, because I know Greg, y'all talked about this at the last charter board meeting. One other thing is too that to look at having a removal recommendation. If you're talking about 20% of the voting population, Charles County has around 118,000 voters. You're talking about over 20,000 voters if you're trying to remove the executive or the at-large member. If you look at commissioners now, everyone, because the primary in Charles County either fortunately or unfortunately makes the election here. So what you're talking about is in every race for commissioner, all the people together, whether it's District 2, 3, 1, at large, made up around 18,000 voters. So you're talking about if you're trying to remove the executive or the at-large person, more voters signing a petition saying I want a removal recommendation than the actual number of voters who got them in the office. So it is a significant amount of people to do that. But to the other point is that a lot of times that is how we can hold political power. We can say to elected official A that if you take this vote against what the community says, we're going to start a petition process against you. Will it? You may not get the total number of 23,000, or if you're looking at districts around 6,000, but the headlines of it, the news coverage puts pressure on an elected official, because right now we can all say, hey, Commissioner A, I want you to vote yes on this proposed legislation. When it comes around, they can vote no. What do we as the public do other than I hope people remember every 4 years about it? We need some way that we can actually put it to the forefront and put it on people's minds to say, oh my gosh, did you know this commissioner's getting petitioned because they're not in their district or they're not doing X, Y, and Z, and it's a legal thing that can be done.
Well, it's non-binding based on your proposal, right?
Yeah, it's non-binding, so it doesn't make them have to have that vote.
And you would be standing up a special election in that case for something that's non-binding, which has a cost and creates confusion. And I understand what your intention is. And you go in knowing it's non-binding, but the expectation is set that something's going to be done with it, right? And so I think you run the risk of... There's a weaponization that can happen here the day after election of trying to remove somebody. That's a legitimate concern, right? The day after someone loses, and you look at what happened January 6th, and my colleagues, my coworkers, my staff were all impacted directly by January 6th, literally, right? But you look at what happens there, and the day after an election, you're going to have folks try to weaponize and do a recall because their person lost. That's something that we're also hearing on the other side, but you're standing up something that's non-binding. The day that happens and that recommendation goes to the council and they choose because they don't have to take that up, there's going to be an uproar probably from you too, right? It's as if it was supposed to be binding. So
no, I would say that the public signing the petition is going to know it's non-binding because it can say on the petition non-binding removal recommendation. When they go to the election? Then when you get to and it actually happens and the voters do it, then you put pressure on the rest of the council if the voters still want to go that route, to put pressure on the council to say, I want you to hold this public hearing and take this vote because you have the majority of voters within that person's district. I understand. You could have an instance where someone, once they lose, or once the one person wins, let's try to get the petitions up. We're also talking about I know Charles County was famous for online petitions. When you do petitioning, it's not online. It's in person signing signatures. Getting 6,000 is hard. We see petitions who get 100 on Facebook. So imagine how hard it's going to be in Charles County when we don't have all the events. We don't have a big, metro center where people are going in and out from Charles County. A lot of times you may not even get that far, but it's the thing of I can put some pressure and I can have some leverage some kind of way.
It's a big ground effort to do petitions for sure.
So why wouldn't the removal process be binding?
Well, we're reacting to his specific recommendation. It can't. That's been the advice from council, is that it violates the quadrennial election standard requirement.
Was that the bill? Was the bill not binding?
It's about Gilbert Bowling's bill. His bill was separate. His bill, honestly, I personally didn't agree too much with his bill because it wasn't people-led at all. It was if a court finds what you did unethical, then it goes to the Ethics Commission, then it goes to some other route. It takes the commissioners totally out of it. Oh, yeah, but... No, you're right. Okay, no, you're right. So I think his bill was more kind of a legal reason to remove someone. The way that I was thinking it is more of a citizen our power.
I'm thinking
Oh, okay. So yeah, we're on two different wavelengths with that.
Yeah, we were reacting to this.
A difference between being unhappy with the representation that you've gotten. You can vote that out of go around. I hear you. I understand that you want to have some kind of record that you can. If it's non-binding, it's
gonna be a record. Yeah, effectively, that's what it is.
I would say, I'm sorry. The reason I would say,
This man Carlos, man, the people are asking for Angela.
I mean, the reason that I would say it's more than just a record of it is because you do have the people power that goes behind it, the power to get press attention, the power to get a lot of attention around something. So let's look at the Bryan's Road thing, because that's where a lot of people are focused on at this moment. Let's say a commissioner, their representatives were like, we want you to vote against this Bryan's Road plan for the airport. And right now, all residents can say is, if you don't, we're going to come back in 4 and however many years it takes to vote you out of office. So I got to bet that people are going to hold that in their mind, always remember and always vote that way. The problem, what we can do is, if you have this removal recommendation, people can petition, get press coverage, get media around it to draw attention to that elected official. So now all eyes are on that official. Of what are you going to do?
It's still the same thing. But at the end of the day, it still creates pressure. And because they're not going to act, because it's non-binding, your goal is to create pressure so the next election people remember that.
Yes.
That's ultimately what's going to happen. And I want you to bookmark the whole record piece, because I'm going to come back to the record piece.
Let's do that.
But I want us to have a legal remedy.
Yeah. And we do have
our current situation,
right.
And it's the three.
Right.
Everybody knows it. We talk about it all the time. But the situation is that we are being held hostage by a 3-2. Our government is totally.
Our government's been hostage by a 3-2 vote for a long time.
Yeah, I agree with y'all.
But it's unfair.
A lot of different issues.
It's unfair, and we should be able to. We have just cause. We should for the cause. This is a act that why we don't have prosecution. But that's. Mm-hmm. But we want the legal ability to be able to. For none of this has been about representing.
So, and I think you feel strongly about the rock solid piece, but I know we're going to walk through text. We do have both removal and forfeiture language procedures in the charter, right? And we're toying with language. We've strengthened them already for maintaining residency because there's been issues with commissioners not living in the county or in their district. But that's language. I mean, if you had some specific edits, and we can have some conversations about how to strengthen the forfeiture, which is an automatic removal. It's not a vote of anybody. And to strengthen the removal.
That goes to what the state law.
Well, no, it goes to it goes to meeting the qualifications and the standards. So residency, illegal activity. I think some felony language.
I see that Kathy Jo is talking about that we would use the bill is turned into law. We would use it. I don't agree with that. I think that if you have a bill that spells out exactly what the criteria is for that, then how can you use it for
she's referring to Carlos's idea of creating a
she said Angela. She didn't say me. Don't be coming for me, Greg.
I thought she was. I thought.
Are you talking about the last one said Angela? There,
when we talk weaponization, we typically talk recall or recall recommendation.
Yeah, which I mean,
and I think it's legitimate. I don't think you can dismiss that.
What?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time.
The weaponization. Yeah. See, here's my thing. Everyone says weaponization for the removal recommendation. You still got to get the threshold of people. And let me tell you, it is not as easy as just saying, oh, we don't like Commissioner A, so we're going to all get everyone to sign on it. Because when people sign, they're going to ask, well, why? Why should I sign it? And if you just say, because we don't like the person, you're going to have a lot of people be like, I don't have an issue with them. Because look.
You think so?
I mean, look who's in office now. A lot of people, when you talk to them, they'll say, I don't like this person in office. But when you ask them who they vote for, they probably voted for those same people in office. Yeah. Yeah. So you have to prove your case. And again, at the end of the day, it's not all about removing the person. It's also about getting the coverage, and putting pressure on elected officials. Because right now,
having the record.
No, I won't say just having a record.
No, but that's part of it.
But that is part
part
of
of it
So
is
I'm
having a record of it. I
I'm
will
gonna
give
come
you that.
back to that.
Part of it is having a record, but also part of it is that I can act, that we as a community, as a district, whatever, can honestly say we have a way to put pressure on you, because right now, if us three wanted a commissioner to vote a certain way, what's our pressure if they say no? Other than I'll try in 4 years.
So you know what's really interesting about this conversation is, and again, I've had these 40 some meetings, and you both represent ideas and frustrations that I've heard throughout these meetings. You come at it from different angles, but the pressure, the requirements to do your job, the accountability pieces, we don't have any of it in this current form of government. Right, and that's the why charter piece to me. I can talk as a someone who believes in it, not just the chair. That's the why charter piece. And I've mentioned this before. There's 6 code counties in the state, including Charles. None of them have term limits because you need your elected officials to do that, and they've proven they don't govern themselves. So I'll be the first person that would agree with Commissioner Bowling, that would probably agree with all the commissioners that you elect good people. But what happens when they get in the office? Everyone agrees with the idea you should elect good people. But what happens when they get the job? Yeah. There's nothing in code now that forces, attendance, that publishes a record on attendance.
Let's talk about that part too.
That forces you to be in your community. Ricky, back in 2022, I was looking at this, had an exchange with Commissioner Coates about, maybe you should be in the community. Maybe commissioners should be in the community once a month to do town halls. That's an idea that we can add in the charter. So to me, this is the chance to kind of fix something that we've all lived with, which is we hope we vote for a good person, but what happens when they get the job? Yeah. There's nothing.
And good is subjective to a lot of people. What I may find good in someone, you may find more.
But just in general, you and I believe
right.
that we're electing someone that has similar principles to us and that are going to actually work in good faith to complete the job. But once they get in office, all these boards have proven over time, there's nothing to hold them accountable.
I agree with that.
And that's why I say this is the opportunity. It's why I'm excited about it. But it's also why I know you're worried about it.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. But I would say, forget these names. What about 20 years from now? Don't you think every election, once they get in, they should have some rules? I think they should have some
I wholeheartedly
rules.
agree with you.
Right.
I feel like personally that we're being, when I say held hostage, that our 3-2 is because those 3 are trying to force us into charter because somehow they think they're going to be elected in some role.
I bet you those 3 didn't know we were going to do terms, didn't know we were going to do different
probably not. They thought that you guys were going to do things the way they wanted them to be done. But, there's a lot of things that they could be doing right now that they just don't vote on. They just ignore it. And to me, that feels like, and there's a lot of people that express this, that they feel like it's shoving charter down our throat. We're not going to govern unless you give us what we want.
I've heard it. So Dave, I see David Heidelbach is up there. You were probably in the room because I couldn't.
Kathy Jo Redmond, it has nothing to do with blacks or race. It's people. I wish you'd stop.
So David Heidelbach.
I think they heard you on that one.
So look, I see David. David, at the last public comment, I was virtual, so I couldn't see the room. I'm assuming you were there. David says on screen, we have 2 lame ducks. I don't think Commissioner Coates is going to run again. I don't see any campaign activity, and I don't think Commissioner Patterson is going to run for this seat. So now you have 2 personalities that you worried about are out the way.
I mean, we all know that.
But they have no motivation to do anything this time.
If David's theory holds true, right? David's a smart guy, and he does his homework and looks through records. That's why he said that. So if this means that we're at least going to get 2 new faces, don't we want those faces to have to live by a set of rules?
Yes.
And that's what charter's about. Writing the rules, writing the job description. Right?
Now,
writing the job description.
I think anyone could hear me. We had to switch some mics up. Y'all were on a nice little stream right there, so I just kept y'all going.
Okay.
As far as Angela's microphone, I think we're good to go.
I haven't seen anybody saying it's still spotty.
I had to had to step away for a second. I think I'm good to go. I think I've made some changes over here. If there's any issues before we move forward, please let us know. If not, then I'll change something up again. Comments wise, we got a few up there.
Well, somebody start talking about you.
Before we move on to the county executive, the pros and cons for that as far as charter, does anyone want to address one of the comments you've seen up here?
I will tell you, Kathy Joe, why didn't I know charter was on the ballot in 2014? Because I wasn't involved in politics at that time. I was an uneducated voter.
I'll go to what Derek Terry said if you scroll a little bit up, but about how you have people working full-time jobs. That's why I'm a proponent of the council and the executive being a full-time job. You're doing full-time work, and also if the Department of Labor was part-time, or all these government agencies that we know we survive on, we'd be up in arms. If the department, if social services told us, yeah, you can only reach us 3 months out the year, I hope you good the rest of the time, we'd be angry. So running government is a full-time job. It takes a lot of work. It takes legislation, budgeting, all this other stuff that they're going to do in charter. It should be a full-time job, and they should be compensated for it. Now, when we get to the compensation, we can also talk about how should the salary, yes, it should be determined by the job, but should also be determined by the cost of living in the county. We don't have, well, I mean, one of the charter board people said $230,000, and I'm looking like, that's more than anybody. And
Who said that? 230.
You do like names, don't you?
Yeah,
that's what
you know where we at.
said. That's what Daughtry said during the meeting.
Yeah. It's okay for the board to be in different places.
No,
on
it
that.
should be.
You
Yeah,
all
it should be
know,
different.
you know from watching that meeting, I didn't agree with that.
Yeah.
Right. I think the reason to run for office isn't for the compensation. We do want to attract good people, so there's a balancing act of what's that right number. 150 was in the 2014 document.
I think
Is that a
it's-
good number?
I
That seems good to
think
me.
it's got to be realistic, because people are stepping away from their career.
Yeah.
For however long they're in that public office.
Yeah.
And if you starve them, then they're open for corruption.
That's a good point.
But you also don't want it to be a replacement for their permanent
Yeah.
career. It's, everybody should come into it knowing I'm going to do this for whatever the term limits are, or time. We really shouldn't need to have term limits. Unfortunately, people just don't do the right thing.
Yeah.
People in our country was founded, the founding fathers, that was their idea, that you would do it for X amount, short period of time, step away and go back to your life. But unfortunately, greedy people don't do that, and they build their whole career and their financial livelihood around the relationships that they make being in office. So we have to put rules in place.
Yeah.
But I think you've come up with some good suggestions for that. Whatever the middle ground ends up being, we got to see.
Oh,
what
for
it is.
salary?
No, for the term limits.
Oh, for terms. Yeah, but the compensation thing, since it came
Can't wait
up.
to talk about that part.
Yeah.
We had a good convo on that. I don't think I did a particularly good job with our board members, and I think I probably was a bit forceful, because I think all of us feel strongly about the compensation question. I think I probably reacted like I wasn't willing to compromise as one board member, but I felt pretty strongly that this number should be down. It shouldn't be way high. I get about attracting good. I was thinking about the counties that look like us size-wise, charter
Yes.
counties.
Yeah.
So Hartford is about 100-some thousand for the exec. Frederick might be around 90 to 100. Cecil's like 85 or something.
And I think that goes to what Carlos was saying about the cost of living.
Yeah. So I think we have to kind of find a way to balance like what's right for the size versus what's right for how competitive this area is to get that person to want to do the job.
Yeah.
And maybe 150 isn't the right number. I felt pretty strongly about that last Thursday, but we didn't think about
I
it.
think 150 to 170.
175?
Yeah.
175?
That's all right. I mean,
Yeah, I
It's a
think
county
that sounds-
executive.
I mean, you can
Reasonable.
live. You can live. I mean, the average household income in Charles County is $100,000. So
I do want to be clear about something, though. So we are very explicit. We're going to be very explicit if it's not right yet in the charter that as executive, it's full time, but there's no like workaround language that you can still have another job. It's this job, not any other job.
I agree
You're
with that.
expected to be
I'm
on the
with you,
job
yeah.
as the manager. Only obligation. You can own a business and you can benefit from the profits of the business, but you can't be the operator manager of the business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
does it also have? Would you also say language as far as like you have to like recuse yourself or remove yourself from owning any like being a part of the business where you see some people when they get into office, it's like, okay, I have to sign over the rights to the company to a loved one or a family
Right.
member.
To
I would-
run it during that
Yeah,
time.
so
It's like a trust.
yeah, so it's like, hey, I'm not gonna vote in ways
So we have to
Like
go
they
back.
say, I'm not going to vote anyways.
Yeah, we have to go back to the table to put all the bells and whistles in for that, because I think most of us feel strongly that to be a clean break.
Yeah.
And you're not an operator, because there'd be a conflict if you get contracts from the.
Or if you're voting
Oh.
on property that a family member
Yeah.
has a business on and would benefit
I
from,
mean,
and that kind of thing.
If we get into that, we also, you talk about contracts and everything, we get into campaign finance reform, how you have companies in Charles County that not only donate to candidates, but also lobby on behalf of the government as well, too.
Well,
So-
David says it can't be a static salary for 6 years.
Oh.
There's a
I
whole
don't
lot
agree
of
with
people
that.
who are
You
dealing
need a
with
COLA.
static salaries for 6 years.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I think that when you get into serving the public, you understand that you're making a sacrifice
Yeah.
for the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, there's got to be that willingness. It's not a financial incentive to
Yeah.
run for office. It's because you care about the people. Yes, you're going to be getting paid enough to survive in your lifestyle that you're living. But, I think that thinking that you're going into an upgrade is the wrong idea.
Mhm.
Or that I'm going to get a 10% raise or something.
It's public service.
It's public service.
But I would also say,
Yeah.
you got
And
a
that's
lot
why
of,
it should be temporary.
I mean, that's
part.
why I would also say a lot of elected officials hold offices that pay barely anything because of the power you just get from being in office too. So we have to also recognize the overall power goes into what some people might say, hey, I'll take a pay cut if I can decide what goes on in the county. Every time I go to an event, they shout me out. Some people like that celebrity of it. So we have to look at that as a benefit to you as well.
The ego.
Yeah.
So let me stop there. We're talking about power. First of all, I haven't seen anyone complain about the microphones recently, so obviously
Shout out to you, Ricky.
everything must be sounding great.
I like Kathy Jo's comment about talking about nepotism. I want to.
This is what I want to do. I want to move into the articles of charter, and we can go
Okay.
from the top, and we go from the bottom. So
Someone just asked when
Go
the
ahead.
next charter board meeting is. It's going to be Thursday, April 25th. While you're moving to the text, I saw that up there. Thursday,
Come out and
April
make public
25th
comment.
is the next charter board.
where's it at?
In the county government building in the blue room. That's the one hybrid room where we can do virtual and in person.
So I did have one question too, as far as the pay. How much is PG's county executive paying right now?
The data we have from Mako says 216. I actually think it's been raised a bit since then. I don't think it's 230, but we're trying to lock all those numbers down so we can bring it to the table on the 25th and have apples to apples. What are all the county executives getting paid right now this fiscal year?
Cool.
So I think we're getting a lot of comments online here about some of the people in the county are already making.
I think most of those folks are talking about staff.
Yes, that.
And I think residents would be surprised or have a knee-jerk reaction to Charles County is perceived to be pretty top-heavy on the management side, on the senior staff side.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're competing with Prince George's. We're competing with people probably who go to Reston to work in the tech sector and get paid handsomely.
I mean, the majority of Charles County residents leave the county to go to work
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we are competing with that, but we also have to look at the benefits you get from
Yeah.
it to be able to work in the same county. That's what I love, and I want to ask you, is that still in the charter about all of the department heads have to live in the county?
Let's go to the executive.
Oh,
tax.
yay.
Let's go through it. Let's go through
That's
it.
some good transitioning.
So this, so everybody can see right here on the left side. We're gonna go from county executive. We'll work our way all the way down to state law, and then comments in between. I'm looking at. I know Angela's got her phone up too. Carlos, you can bring yours up. Whatever you see, we can just kind of go from there. All right, y'all ready to do this? All right,
Ready.
county executive. Let's see what we have here. All right, bear with me.
This is going to be a bit tedious because you're looking at essentially legislative language, right? This is the Constitution.
Ooh.
This is a living, breathing document. So we'll have charter reviews. You know, it's not going to be perfect. We're going to try to get it perfect and rock solid, but all counties review their charters, right? Because your population changes, your needs change. So this describes what the duties are of the county executive. This is the top manager for the county on a full-time basis. They're the top lobbyists for the county. And that's what we've heard from other counties is that's the benefit of having an executive. They get a different voice in Annapolis. They are able to bring back more of your tax dollars back home. If you scroll down a bit, Ricky, I don't really want to narrate this like that. If you're okay with me telling you to scroll
you
down.
can kind of sum it up. This
Okay.
is at least a living, breathing document. Everyone,
Yeah.
you can see where the link is at,
Yeah.
and then we can go from there
So
too.
if you can scroll down to qualifications, though, it kind of looks at what some of what we're talking about as far as age,
Let me scroll down.
his term
some.
of office, right there. There we go.
In terms, all right, let me park it right here.
Yeah. So we made a significant change here. Early on, the board was in different places on if you could run for X amount of terms, be required to sit out, and then could you come back if you're good, if voters thought you were good. We had sentiment across the board that the term for a county executive should be capped at 2 terms, period. You can't run again. So this is 8 years total, whether you lose your second term, your reelection, and then you can come back, or if it's consecutive, it's 8, period.
Can they come back in another role?
They could run for council. Yeah, we don't have anything
Multiple
that says
times.
you can't run for council. Maybe that experience is good. You know what that one side works at, so you can write some works like, so you can write some good legislation. We've seen that. We've seen people who have been good representatives that might go on to be a good president or a good senator to be a good president, right? You think of President Obama, right? So sometimes having the experience on both sides is a good thing.
We'll keep it focused on Charles County.
I was supposed to be the one to say that.
Hey, well, you know, yeah. I wear a certain hat, my full-time job. But
can I say this real quick, Greg? Also, Carlos is speaking for himself and me. I do not speak for my job, for any other organization, anything. So I just wanted to get that.
I got that John disclaimer up there for a reason, as far as the BNY network. So
That's right.
that's
so as a board, though, we decided that a hard cap, you know, at this stage is in the best interest. If y'all have some strong feedback, I think y'all both do.
Well, and that's
open.
what I was just talking about earlier, is that, you know, I heard some discussion at our Voices of Bryan's Road meeting last Saturday, and I thought it was a good point that, you know, when you come into it, your first term, you're learning. Your second term, really getting in the groove, and it's probably getting mid-second term that you're starting to know what the hell you're doing, and learning the ropes and knowing how to play things. And you know, I think
Terms.
Ooh.
yeah, I mean, I know it seems like a lot,
16 years. Did I do my math right?
but
Yeah.
you know, but maybe you know, 2 terms and then sit out for a term and try and run again if you do a good job. I don't know.
So our council text works for you in that regard? Because the council text is different than this. The council, you can sit out and then forced to sit out, not choose to sit out, forced to sit out, and then you could run again. You think that should be?
I mean, I think that sounds reasonable. If the people would vote for you, and if you sat out for the required amount, I don't see personally, but get people their career. They are wealthy. They don't have anything better to do than work.
So
You know, there's all kinds of different scenarios. Not be just trying to.
Right.
So I guess what I'll say to that is that I get what you're saying, Greg, and maybe you as well, Angela, of if they're good, they can run again and all that. We see a lot of people who we may all call horrible politicians, but they have the money and the name recognition to say, I don't care if I'm good or bad, you know my name, and I can flood the airways with ads. I can flood your mailbox with mail, and you'll vote for me because you haven't heard of anyone else. I think having those hard term limits, because right now I'll say for executive, I'm totally happy with the 2. If it went up to 3, cool, whatever. I like it being at 2 though. It's a nice kind of, you get 2 terms. I mean, I don't want to sound like someone.
You have to earn the second term. Let's be clear.
You do have to earn the second term.
Just for the public, you have to be clear. You have to run again.
Yes, you have to
It's
run
not
again.
8 years.
Yeah, it's
right?
not just you get
Right.
8 years. It's not just you get 8 years and you do you. But what I'll say for as far as the council part, and we're not on there yet, I would say that you go 2 years and you sit out. That sit out could be, let me raise some money. Let me talk to who I need to talk to, because I'm coming right back with a vengeance and I'm going to do what I want to do. Or you get 2 people who say, hey, I do my 2 terms, then you do your 2 terms. I do 2 terms, and then we go back and forth like we've seen for Virginia governor of, hey, it's me, now it's you, now it's me, now it's you.
That hasn't happened that often.
No, it hasn't
That
happened that often, and I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying, but I also understand that we shouldn't discount somebody who's doing good work and throw them out.
But that's all of us assuming that they are doing good.
There's going to
Because-
be some who do and some who don't. That's a risk that we're.
No, you're right. I mean, we look at the people who are in office now. Other than Patterson, they've all been there. This is their either second or third term. Could we say if they got voted in again
Stewart's
that
on
they're
their
doing good
third.
work?
Yeah.
Or do we say they got in again because they got the money?
So
in
here's
the
a
name?
question I have. I mean, isn't that a risk you take with electing any politician to any office?
Yeah, but that's why a lot of people fight for hard term limits. So they know, hey, if you are good for those 2 terms, great. Because I know what kind of person I want to see, and I'll vote for someone similar to you. Rather than saying, you were good, I like you. I'll just let you sit out, but you're coming back.
No one's letting anyone sit out.
Not letting,
they're forced to sit out because it is a term. It might not be the hard term, but it is a term.
It's not a limit though either.
So yeah, you can only win 2 elections in a row.
Yeah, that's not
that is a limit. But
that's not. I wouldn't say a limit. It's more of like a pause.
But here's the thing: you still have to run to come back,
yeah.
And you run the risk of the person's in might be doing a good job, will instantly have name recognition. Maybe the economy's doing well, and they get the benefit of that. Tax revenues to the county are up because perhaps we have a real estate boom. That's a disadvantage to the person, whether they were a former incumbent or not, trying to run against the economy. So I think it's a strong hypothetical to say this person's choosing to sit out, they're not, and then they can instantly kind of take that seat back. I mean, I think you've come up with maybe one example with Terry in Virginia. It didn't work out to his favor. No,
I mean, when we look at Vincent Gray in D.C., he was a council member, became mayor, and then went back to being council member. You look at state senator, I'm forgetting what his name is. Is it Anthony Muse? Maybe he was the one who went out, who was state senator,
the congressman,
took a term out. Kwesi Mfume was in Congress, left after Elijah Cummings died, came right back, and what did voters do? Voted him right back in.
How long was he out for?
Quite a bit of time. Yeah, quite a bit of time. But you have that name recognition, people know you, and you get the right endorsements. You can win right back and go right back in.
So I guess the question is, what's the point of having a term limit if you can just come back and run again?
That's what I say.
That's true.
Well, that's why I say it's not a term limit. It's more of a term pause, where you got to take a pause, but then you can come right back. That's not a hard cap limit.
Well, maybe we give term limits and they can come back in another role.
Yeah.
Yeah, executive. You can run for executive, and once you're done that,
or go to delegate.
Yeah.
Move on.
And there, I mean, there's a point of getting a new face in, Ricky. Right now, there's no term. Let's be clear. There's no term limit. Pause anything.
Right.
You can run as many times as you want to, and many do run on name recognition here. They run on family names. Mm-hmm. And if you think I'm just talking about this board, I'm not.
Yeah.
Right. So, they have an unlimited amount of times they can go. Under what we've proposed council, they have to sit out. And then if you get guaranteed to get a new face for those 5 positions. Is that enough? It sounds like for Carlos it's not. It sounds like maybe there's some value in letting experienced people come back.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to balance.
Yeah, and I saw Norma Jean said on here, how many jobs allow people to have 4 years to learn their job? I didn't say they have 4 years to learn their job. It's you're learning it in the first term, and really get seasoned at it. I mean, I've been a project manager for a long time, very good at it, but 15 or 20 years ago, I wasn't nearly the project manager that I am today, right. Because of my experience. So, even though I was able to do the job, I wasn't as effective then as I am now. So that's my comparison.
And let's be honest, the truth is with these types of positions, because they're at the ground level, these folks are looking at state, they're looking at federal, right? So there's all kinds of moves that are going to happen. We're guaranteeing more movement and newer faces with the terms in both that we have now. Could we improve it? Sounds like we have some letters coming our way.
Yeah, we got a lot.
Yeah,
it looks like we got a.
I'm gonna say one thing. I will point, Ricky, if you scroll back up a little bit. One thing.
How far up you want me to go?
Right there's good. One thing I will shout out to you all on the charter board is listening to public about making a actual sensible age limit on this. Because when I tell you how many people I've heard say, I won't even say how many people, of charter board members that I've talked to who have been harping on it should be 25, 30, 50. I'm thinking these are not qualifications to say, oh, if you run and you're young, you're going to automatically get in. A 21-year-old still going to have to do a lot of work. As someone who was 22 when I came here, Ricky, and I was running, you do a lot of work and you're going to face a lot of people. But it's a lot of ideas that younger people have that will actually motivate some other candidates to say, you know what, I like that idea. That was good.
Let me do 2 things real quick. Sorry, Greg, and I'll come right back to you. Let me do 2 things. One, if you're for term limits, let me ask you 2 questions. Let me get a yes. And also, what do you think the minimum age should be? So either yes, no, and then answer with the age limit as far as right now it's at 21.
Yep.
All right. Also,
executive.
For county executive. Also, I want to see something. Carlos and Angela, just switch your mics. Just switch the mics. I want to see something. And we'll go from there. All right, Greg, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that the age piece will play out in the campaign as you sell yourself to voters, right? So having it at 21, I thought was a good. And if people say that's too young, they're not going to vote for him.
Exactly. I mean, it being an older person, seasoned,
A veteran.
yes, a seasoned person. I definitely, when I have seen the younger candidates, I pay more attention.
Yeah.
Because I want to hear what their platforms are. I want to hear the things that they say and how they say them. And that's how we can learn how to agree on things. But you know, I'm going to pay more attention to that, I think, so that I can, me personally, I want to know whether I should give that person the time of day or not. I'm just not going to say, oh, they're a kid. They don't know anything.
How old was Brandon when he won Mayor of
19
Indian
years
Head?
old, still went to
19.
CSM. So shout out to young people all across the country.
That's the young man that's the mayor of Indian Head,
Yep.
right? And I think he's doing a decent job.
Indian Head
You know
doing
what
some good
else?
stuff.
He beat an incumbent at 19 years old and was going to CSM.
Yeah.
Your next county executive, ladies and gentlemen.
And that is a charter. Indian Head is an incorporated town. Has their own charter, right?
So-
and Mayor Paulin is someone that I do point. He wouldn't want me to say this. He's focused on the town, right? And they have big things going on down there. But I would look and say your options for the next executive for the county are more than what you think they are with the current board of commissioners. One, they got to run for it. No one gets it. But what if Mayor Paulin takes that executive experience and says he wants to take it to the next level? I think there's some people who are going to say, I'm going to judge you on what you're doing on Indian Head, and I'm seeing some things turning around. And they're going to look at him as a young, energetic person that might be the right, type of energy we need for Charles County for the first executive. So I'm not putting that on Brandon. I don't know if you're going to run.
No, but he didn't come out talking about stupid stuff. Like, he was really thinking about real situations and taking it seriously. He wasn't just, friends and we're drinking and I'm going to go run for mayor and we're going to propose this. And
I'm assuming he was an
somebody
SGA
says, yeah, I'll vote for
president.
that.
Oh, Lord.
But no, he
I want some of the drinkers in office. We already got some, but I mean,
so, but some young people are beyond their years and they're ready for it. And I feel like he demonstrated that he's ready for it and he's handling it very well.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So I don't think we should take that. I think 21 is a good age.
Yeah.
That's old enough to drink. And
Old enough to go to war. Definitely.
Serve your country.
3 years older.
well, 18 isn't that on your
18 is old enough
Yeah,
to go to war.
You go
Yeah.
to war, take out student loans. You can decide your whole fate at 18.
So that question I asked, a couple people, we had about, I don't know, a couple people in there that answered it. So everybody said yes to term limits.
Okay.
30. I see that for exec, 25 for exec, 25 for council,
25.
30 for exec. Let's see. I think someone here said, "Oh, you can hear Angela now. Good. Can you hear Carlos too?" I just had to switch their microphones. I just wanted to see something.
That was weird.
Yeah, different mics like different people.
I've seen a lot of 35 in my own conversations with folks.
35.
I just think you might restrict young, energetic folks that want to come
Yes.
Yeah.
But you want to take people out the process, so I definitely understand where you're going there with that one, Greg. Let's keep cycling more through here.
Yeah.
Forfeiture office, remove for office. Then we kind of talk about the vacancy in office.
Well, what
Actually,
is the language in here? We haven't
So let's
talked
scroll
about
up.
this.
Let's scroll up. So forfeiture. So forfeiture is not a recall. It's not a decision by the council. It is if you do these things, you lose your job. And this is what you will hear our county attorney, Danielle Mitchell and Mark Potter, call operation of law. It's once we establish that it happened, you're out, right? So that's ceasing to be a Charles County resident. And we are, based on our meeting on Thursday, editing 408 Section 1 to say primary resident of Charles County. Because people might rent something, say they're here, but they really live in another county, right? So we're going to fix that. Convicted of or pleading guilty to a felony or crime. So if a court decides you did, that's a felony, or you did PBJ, trustable, probation.
Yep.
These things will kick you out of office.
Yep.
Okay.
So I have a question about number 1.
Sure.
The executive ceasing to be a citizen of the United States.
I think that's standard language, probably boilerplate
Is that
language in
legal?
all counties.
Legalese?
What do you mean legalese?
Was that illegal?
We said number 1
Term.
under forfeiture.
I think that's probably boilerplate that we probably picked up from all charters. I don't know.
I want
how
to know
someone
why that
ceases to
says
be a
that,
citizen.
because how do you
United
cease to be a
States. Yeah.
citizen of the United
Yeah.
States?
We can check
People
that.
can revoke their
Yeah, you can.
citizenship. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not likely, but the language is there to protect.
Yeah.
Some people may say, "Look at where the country's going. Let me go get a bus
Yeah.
ticket."
I
Wanna deport
understand,
yourself?
but to me, I'm thinking that you're in here on a visa,
Oh,
and
I
then
don't
you
think-
got deported because you overstayed your visa or something like that. That's what I was thinking.
I doubt that was the legislative intent there. I think I'm assuming that's boilerplate language probably from the first charter for Montgomery County in 48, but we can look at that.
Yeah, I'd like to.
I don't see that as an issue because if you're a citizen, you're a
I
citizen.
do, because we have a lot of people in this area that are here on visas.
I
But
still
that,
think
but
they
that,
should, well,
but being
me
here on a
personally,
visa,
I think they should be able to vote. So I don't want to get in that conversation.
but being here on a visa
We're talking-
doesn't mean you're a citizen. It means
That's
temporary
true.
status.
That's true. That's
So
temporary status. So how,
right.
I don't understand that. So that seems
I
weird.
think
to
it's
me.
probably more
I
what
have to look
Carlos
into
is
that.
talking about as a rare I revoke my citizenship
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've been asked if you can translate. What's going on, Deborah? If you could translate 408.4. We're going to just a little more detail with that one.
Is that no contest?
Yes.
Below content.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I've stayed in the Holiday Inn Express. I made that bad joke before.
I do not get that joke. You said it twice.
You don't remember this commercial over
I
the
stayed
years?
at a Holiday Express
someone's
Inn
having a
last
heart
night. I'm
attack
so
and they-
smart.
Yeah, there's a person that passes out.
Ain't no more
Is there
commercials.
a doctor here?
Carlos
and he
ain't-
said yes. Well, I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express. I'm not really a doctor.
I don't even stay in Holiday Inn Express, so maybe that's my issue.
Yeah, that's the age difference, a barrier.
Yeah, we dated
Barely get
ourselves.
commercial.
Look it up online. You'll find
All
it.
right, y'all.
It looks like pleading no contest.
Mike
to a
Leftwich says that
crime.
you only have a Boost mobile.
So
Google
to Deborah, Ricky, I think this is, you weren't convicted, but you're not. What does no contest mean? You're not fighting it.
That there's enough
Yes.
evidence to convict you, but you're null pros. I think
Yeah.
that's what it is. Something like that.
Okay, we'll spend a little bit more time here, but there's a couple more articles I want to hit to. So let me just keep scrolling down. And like I said, all this you can read too.
Yes.
Everybody.
The executive and the council text, Ricky, have been up since like
We
November.
wanted to talk
Oh.
removal.
You want to talk about what?
Oh, I want. Yeah.
Go
We wanted
ahead.
to talk about
Go ahead,
removal.
Angela.
Scroll
You
back
got
up
it.
409.
You
We
go ahead
rolled
first.
right past
I want
it.
to talk about vacancy too, but go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
those-
Well, I'll
these
park
two
it
go
here.
together. So, the executive may be removed from office by resolution of the council approved by an affirmative vote of not less than a supermajority of the council after a public hearing and a finding of malfeasance or nonfeasance in office or finding of mental or physical disability which substantially impairs the executive's ability. Blah, 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 blah.
So the council can vote to remove the executive.
Where
is
do
what
the
this
people
says.
get a say in this?
Well, the public hearing part would be the people.
We had a public hearing.
Well, Angela.
Well, I mean,
Angela,
this is the charter.
that
This
would be the
isn't,
removal recommendation where the public gets some form of a say.
for the record.
Yes, for the record.
Angela, you would like a
And
special
of course-
election? Or what are you looking for
Oh
here?
no, I want to talk about that. When
I think we
get the
should have a
vacancy.
special election.
Can we talk about that when we get the vacancy though? And,
We can move it forward, but go ahead, Angela.
go ahead.
I think we should have a special election. If a council member or a commissioner or an executive has done something that falls underneath of this and they need to be removed from office, we need to have a special election.
So under
because
this,
of that.
under 409, if the council does remove, and then through due process, if the court upholds the removal, it would trigger the special election under the vacancy.
Wait, I thought the vacancy
Okay.
was talking about central committee.
The central committee plays a role in appointing some same party as a nominee, but there's a whole flow of what happens, who the nominees are. The central committee plays a role. But to Angela's point, if there is a removal, all of a sudden there's a vacancy, and then 410 applies.
You
Okay.
can scroll down to 410
I can scroll down to 410.
because I'm trying to see. And Greg, can you
So
point
what
out
I'm
where it
concerned
says
about
special election?
is the removal doesn't
Oh, I'm
have.
sorry.
I'm concerned about the removal doesn't have
I'm sorry, I'm gonna be
a
wrong on special
preponderance of the
election.
public.
Well,
that-
no, because there's
There's a public
legal,
hearing.
yeah, constitutionally, the citizens cannot remove someone as citizens from the way that Daniel Mitchell has put it, as like it's unconstitutional for the public to start an election for something or to remove
Quadrennial
someone.
election provision.
Yeah,
she talks
so that's
about.
why
Yeah.
my kind of meeting halfway was the recommendation.
Yeah.
But yeah, Greg,
I might be wrong. Let's scroll down on 410 just a little
yeah, it
bit.
doesn't say anything about special
Let's
elections.
just
Scroll down to 410. I can do that.
Yeah, I might have been wrong about that. That might be in the
Why?
council
Wait,
piece.
I believe Greg before you were saying
scroll
that it
down
was
some more.
special elections.
I
So
thought it was.
why did it change?
I have to look and see how it changed.
Yeah, this is just saying the Central Committee chooses that.
No, that's not entirely accurate. They provide nominees.
But then
the council still has to make a decision on the nominee. And if the council does not make a decision on a nominee, whether the Central Committee doesn't provide one in time, or if the nominee is not qualified in the council's view, then the council cannot act on it, and then it'll be a decision between the Central Committee nominee or the chief administrative officer. So there's like a flow here.
I think you need to get the Central Committee out.
Yeah.
Well, so I hear this all the time.
And take the council out too.
I hear this all the time. I hope to God one day we all can say that we're all very happy with our central committees, because there's been frustration with them over time, right? So do we future-proof this? And not future-proof this. Do we have this in here going forward? And who knows what future central committees look like? But they still play a role in the process? Or we're writing this because you don't like the central committees now?
For me personally, it's not about. I was on the Central Committee for a time period. I'm not going to say I dislike them. I think it's some good people. I think it's other people. But I would say for it's a nice way to say it, wasn't it? I'm saying. You have no, but I'll say this. The people who get elected by Central Committee, you have some Central Committee people who get elected by less votes than the county executive would get elected for. So we're talking about a minority of people deciding who gets to be the head of this county just because you were fortunate enough to get 8,000 votes that day. But why wouldn't us as people, we can decide who takes that office? When you look at Prince George's County, they have special elections.
And I understand special elections are costly, but I think that the circumstances should warrant them.
Yeah. We'll come back to the table on that.
And I mean, also, you can do special elections via vote by mail. I know you may have issues with vote by mail.
No, I'm okay with vote by mail.
So you can have a vote by mail.
I don't like
election.
it, but it's here. So
yeah, I mean, I believe you could put that in the charter, that because that was my thought around recommendation 2, to cut down on the cost. Let's do a vote by mail, so you don't have to open up election centers, you don't have to hire people to work, all that stuff too.
I think people being able to track their vote, like bank your vote, is important. If you're going to do mail-in voting, you should be able to track your vote.
So I do have a question. Carlos brought something up. Greg, how do you put items as a citizen? How do I get items that I like to see in the Central Committee? Not Central Committee, but in the charter? How do I bring that forward?
Send it to us on e-comment. Come to our meetings. Recommend something.
And it's just
in the public comment. I mean, so we're district-based representatives. So we all represent. I represent D4. Mm-hmm. Just like any representative democracy, any body formed under representative democracy, we have to kind of take everything in and weigh it, right? So there's been good ideas that came out of D2 that we put in. There's been some ideas we've received that we haven't put in, either because legal said they're not workable, or we all weighed it and said, we're not sure this is the right package, right? So we ask anyone to write us, to come forward and speak like Carlos did on Thursday, and we take it serious, right? There's no guarantee it's going to get in. Like, this is about how we balance everything, right? I believe strongly in negotiating stuff. Like, I work, nothing's decided until everything's decided, because you have to kind of weigh how it all fits together, right? The age with the salary is going to give you a different mix. So if you notice, we haven't voted on individual items because we're trying to figure out how it all fits together. But Ricky, if you have an idea, and again, I mentioned in 2022, you commented to Commissioner Coates, you all should do, town hall meetings with the public once a month. That's an idea. Do we think that might be too much for the charter? We might say once a month, maybe quarterly, maybe every 2 months. That's the kind of conversations we're having. Mm-hmm. But that's the type of idea we wanted to hear. I mean, you didn't do it. You didn't write that thinking we were looking at it, but I went back and looked, right? And that's a conversation you had with Coates over some type of exchange online.
I think you had an exchange with her online?
Yeah, and then she blocked me.
We're almost there. Wait, so
I say all that to say I've been digging for ideas, just reading.
There you go, Greg.
So hold on a second. Before I do want to move on, for instance, there's a few more items with charter that I do want to make sure we cook well. Angela, I know there's a lot here, but any final thoughts, overall thoughts on county executive when it comes to charter board?
Not at this time.
Scroll down for me real quick, though,
okay,
Ricky, because we do say chief administrative officer must be a Charles County resident once they're selected. That's not true right now.
I think all department heads.
Right. So right now, your chief administrative officer. Right now, your chief administrative officer and your county attorney, 2 of the highest paid county employees in the entire county, live in other counties. There's no requirement for that. That's okay. They're following the rules. we've written in that within 6 months of appointment, give you time to find a new residence, you need to move to Charles County. And we think this position, if you scroll down the next one, county attorney, they are that important to the function of county government that they should live here. They should know the community. We've written that in.
I agree.
I agree with you there too.
Yeah.
Now, is that only for administrator? Also, Ricky, can I go in the chat to do something?
Sure, why not?
Great. If people in the chat could just like let us know, do you support having special elections for vacancies, or do you think it should be a central committee appointment? Yeah, for
Deborah
that.
Jones spoke to that, and I think she did good. She said, in the hopefully rare circumstance where we'd have to use this provision, I'd rather pay for a special election that lets the people decide than give it to the Central Committee or International Economic Development Council. I don't know what she means by that.
That might have been like an auto correct.
Okay.
It might have been. Yeah.
Deborah, hop in there and explain too. Just clear it up if we need. If
Yeah,
need be.
and Deborah used to be with the county.
EDD.
Yeah, with the economic development.
But yeah,
so
so
she has a
Greg-
lot of knowledge.
I need to get Deborah on the podcast. Deborah, open invite. Hit me up on the side.
Okay, cool. So it says the head people for all the departments have to live in the county. May within 6 sessions, such a month's position vacant. Oh no, that's different.
Yeah, that's how quickly they need to appoint
Why?
the executive for the
So
appointment department.
I guess what are you all's thoughts here and people in the chat about making it so department heads have to live in the county? Because you could make an argument that if you're in charge of a whole department and that affects the day-to-day lives of Charles County residents, you should have to live here and deal with what you create.
Some departments are bigger than others. Some are more technical and specialized than others, and it's going to become that recruitment question.
That's exactly what I was just going
Right.
to say. Are you going to be able to get the talent?
Right.
Mm-hmm. You got to pay to get the talent.
Well, I mean, also when we look at the people who kind of run government now, a lot of them have lived in the county for what, generation after generation after generation after generation.
I don't know what run government means. I don't know if you know if all of them are department heads. I don't think that's probably the case.
Not all of them department heads.
That's
but
the
That's what we're talking
bureaucracy.
about, directors, right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to be realistic about we're competing with the metropolitan area for highly skilled people to run our departments. I think the top two positions need to live here. They need to live and breathe Charles County, because if you're the county attorney, you're the one defending Charles County in court. You're the one, reviewing all these operating procedures. You're the one, speaking on behalf of the county on legal matters. Administrator as well. But department heads, that's the slippery slope where we might not be able to get the right people in.
Right.
Yeah.
I do have a question with department heads. Now, current code home rule, department heads are kind of like their own thing. Like I see Leftwood Chair with a lot of people planning group PGM.
Yep.
There's a lot of people with issues with PGM. Just
Yep.
throwing it out there. But now it's like they can just move independent without any kind of oversight. So and then I'll just open up from there.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great question. You want to go?
Oh yeah, I think I think that's a problem, and I think where we are right now, where our commissioners are supervising one employee who supervises everybody else, that we need to have a broader level. Maybe all the department heads are answered to the council or the commissioners.
I'm glad you recognize that as an issue, but that feeds into certain people's anti-charter argument, because they say that the executive would have too much control over department heads. I argue a CEO expects their department heads to fulfill the mission, and the stick is, if you don't fulfill it, then you can be removed. That's how most people work in the corporate world. The military world follows a chain of command.
Absolutely.
We don't have that right now. So if you all watch a couple of meetings ago, and it's public, so I'm gonna say it, our county administrator says she is effectively the county executive. I think the public will have a problem with that, because you elect your commissioner. Most people think the commissioner president has that power. The commissioner president can set the agenda and lower the flag. That's it.
Yeah.
Other than that,
I'm glad you pointed that out last meeting too.
that's not an insult. That's what the commissioner president can do versus the other commissioners. But they have no power if they're getting consistent feedback that something's going wrong in a department. Perhaps it's PGM, perhaps it's Park and Rec. They have no ability to say, we need to fix this. The administrator decides that.
And if the administrator doesn't relay that information for whatever reason, then maybe the executive isn't even aware of what's going on in the council.
Yes.
I have a good question on here that I wanted to answer. Katie Stickle said, will existing commissioners be termed out at the beginning due to how many terms they have already served?
No, the commissioner position will be abolished. We can't hold the terms over in one form of government. We can't let those legally apply to another
The past
form of
is the
government.
past, and the present is the present, and the
every-
future is the future.
Commissioners
Okay.
are abolished. There'll be a brand new set of offices that anyone in the public can run for if you meet the qualifications.
That makes sense.
Cool. The one thing I'll also say to that is, I like how you all have put it where the council has kind of oversight over the department heads and things like that. The one thing I would love to also see in this, and I want to hear from the community what you all think as well, is that if we allow the council to confirm a nomination, why don't we have a process where the council, either it's unanimously or supermajority, to be able to remove a department head too? Because what if you have, once they get appointed or confirmed, you have a council person, or I'm sorry, you have a department head who's not really doing the work of the people, or you have a lot of constituents who say, hey, we're having an issue with this, we're having an issue with this. We go to the executive, he or she's not helping. We go to the department head, they're not helping. The council could say, hey, let's have a public hearing on it. But what do you do after that? If I can't do anything, I'm really just...
The council can do a lot more than you think under this charter compared to others. The council has budget power in this charter. Many counties that are charter, the council can only delete. This county can, this charter, the council can completely propose their own budget. They can essentially rearrange the executive's budget or do their own thing. So that in that situation, they actually have executive by the balls, or have leverage over the executive. I'm sorry. They have leverage. This was coffee. This was coffee. So there's leverage
strong
there.
coffee.
There's
It's Irish
leverage
coffee.
there.
Hey.
So they can hold up the executive agenda. They can hold up funding, and they have subpoena power. They can keep calling that department head to the carpet. So at some point, something's going to have to give, and the executive will have to make a decision with that type of pressure. But let me talk about the confirmation thing. Right now, what knowledge do you all have of the interview and qualification process for directors?
No, none, but I get what you're saying. But my thing is that for me, having a little bit better than what we already have is not a reason to say, okay, cool, let's stop there.
No, that wasn't my point. Everything right now happens based on the administrator selection you heard this last meeting, in closed session. So if there's a council now at the table to review qualifications, it all happens in open session. They're reviewing the contract. That person has to sit there and testify and talk about why they're qualified to lead Parks and Rec or PGM. And then there's a vote of the council to confirm or not that person. We do not have that in this
And the public
current
gets
system.
that insight.
Yes, we do not have that at all in this system. It's all, as the county attorney told us, in closed session.
Yeah, Deborah says the commissioners did hire and fire department heads prior to 2015. Plus or minus, she says. Then they were all moved under the administrator.
Yeah, when Peter Murphy came on board with Mike Malinoff, they kind of changed things as far as rules. But code, that's nothing inherent in code. That's a decision they made. We can put the rules in charter and worry about elected officials going backwards or forward. Residents decide.
So I guess what are you all's thoughts on the council, at whether it's, like I said, supermajority or unanimously, being able to remove someone as well? They can
Are we
confirm
moving
it.
on? Are we moving to council? We talking council?
No, department heads. Like the council being able to
Gotcha.
unanimously or supermajority be able to remove a department head to say, you know what, we keep subpoenaing you, we keep talking to you, and we change the budget, we try to hold stuff up, but we see the same problems day after day after day. We as a council, we're going to decide we can't do this anymore.
Well, I argue with you. If they hold the budget up, there will be action because they need that budget enacted. But what you're describing gets very close to an interference argument that we talk about. Commissioners putting undue pressure on department folks. This branch of government actually separates that, and your legislators can't lean on department heads, and it kind of creates that non-interference that you want day-to-day government. What you're describing could act towards an interference type situation.
I would see it more like a checks and balances type of, especially if you put the threshold high. I would understand if you're saying, oh, a simple majority. You could have three who say, you know what? I don't like the county executive. We're just going to do what we want to. When you include everyone, like a unanimous vote, it turns into, I can't just say, oh, it's my little personal beef and I want to interfere or you want to interfere. We all have to come to the same accord to say, you know what, this isn't working. And you will still have like the public, and I think it should be, they have a public hearing about it. You have to hear from the public what they think, and then it really puts the power in the public hands.
Well, certainly be at the beginning of the process with the confirmation piece, whether or not they can create pressure or a vote of no confidence or something like that.
Yeah, but
There's
it's like how we
options.
said earlier, where
There's options.
when someone gets in, we always vote for you thinking that you're going to do the right thing, where you can get confirmed thinking you're going to do the right thing, but once you get there, it's like, oh, 2 years down the road, you're not acting right.
Well, again, I think we've put pieces in that kind of deal with that, with budget, with subpoena, with IG.
Yeah.
Right. We actually have pieces to deal with that. I get your hypothetical, but I think we've kind of addressed some of that.
I think one of the biggest beefs that people are having right now with our current situation is that you've got a pretty good sized group of the public that are coming to the meetings, that are expressing their opinions about things. And these commissioners have already made their decision. Some of these commissioners have already made their decision, and they don't care what their constituents say.
Oh, you
And-
mean you Board of Commissioner meetings? And
yeah,
there's-
that we're
okay.
dealing with now. So I think, we got to make sure we keep the public.
Yeah.
We got to make sure that, the public continues to have their voices heard.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Any final questions, thoughts with the county executive before we move on to the
One
next?
thing I've noticed with
Go
county
on.
executive,
I'm just
real
move
quick.
back to the screen. Go
all
ahead.
right, cool. One thing I've noticed is there's nothing about town hall requirements or attendance requirements for a county executive. I still think that.
There's a town hall requirement
Oh,
in the budget section.
Oh, cool. Is there anything? Okay, I guess we'll get to that later
And
on.
it's almost like a State of the Union budget kind of
Okay,
thing.
cool.
It's earlier in the process than you have now. I don't want to skip to the budget piece because I think council.
No, yeah, we can talk about that.
I
We can talk about that later.
I want to ask a quick question. You talk about the other counties.
Mhm.
You bring up these other counties, Frederick County, Hartford, Cecil,
Mhm.
that are already charter. Have you looked at some of the legal issues that are happening?
Certainly have seen the Hartford ones with their executive, and looked at Cecil's limited council power.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two different sets of issues.
Yeah.
We've addressed the Cecil issue by having a council that has more power, particularly
Okay.
on budget. Hartford's one is, in any form of government, if people decide to not follow the rules or standards or protocols, you have to start taking legal action. And I think that's what's happening right now in Hartford.
Yeah, there's criminal charges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or investigations at least.
investigations, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if the process is played out there. But we've had these issues here, right?
We're having them right now.
We had them when we had them under. but look, I mean,
He's good at not laughing. He just be going like,
but it's interesting you say that. So, I mean, I think when it was Candace Quinn Kelly and others, I thought there was a vote to pay someone's legal fees because of an issue about tax returns and exposing tax information and then court issues related to that.
Well, I'm just saying.
So, I mean, I think we have those
you
issues.
looked at these other counties and the inherent problems that arise with the way their charters are structured to try and make a better?
I don't think it's inherent in a
proposal
charter.
here.
I think it's you have people that
That's maybe
are bad
inherent
actors.
because of the way theirs is, like you said, the way their charter was structured.
The Harvard example isn't a structure of the charter issue. It's an
It's a
arrogant
person.
executive issue,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And I think there's also some hard feelings on the side and some politics at play. I think both things are happening. The Cecil example isn't a legal issue at all, but it's when it comes to school funding and things like that, how much power does the Cecil County Council get to increase the budget? And we've addressed that. But let's be very clear, people who know Charles County history, right? We had a commissioner president who went to jail and kept his office.
Yeah, that is true.
In St. Mary's County,
He was signing bills from the jail cell.
so he was siphoning gas in his personal vehicles and other stuff. But even scarier, like St. Mary's County's commissioner president George Aud, his name's
Walking
Sporty
Dead.
George. He was convicted of bribery.
Got elected
Right?
as Sporty George.
He was a flamboyant car salesman, and he was the St. Mary's County commissioner president, and he had federal bribery charges and was convicted.
So
right?
let me tell y'all,
So
when
it happens
everybody
in
talking about we
any
got
form
good
of
elected
government.
I mean, it's
officials.
not unique to Charles County. We seen a mayor not too long ago, about 30 odd years ago in D.C. that went to jail and came back and.
It's not unique to charter, is the point.
We've
No,
seen
you're
people
right.
who are
Unique to
mayor
any
of
form of
Baltimore
government.
with some
And that's
book
why we need to
scandals.
have the
Who's running again?
accountability
Yes.
in place.
Yeah. I think there was a Charles County administrator who stole money from White Plains Regional Park, right? In the 90s.
We
So
have
it
a
happens.
we have a Charles County Commissioner President who is misusing the county credit card repeatedly right now.
So we can name names in all the commissioner forms and all the charter forms, But the point is, what rules are we going to put in?
Just going,
Yeah.
just going past like, we ain't gonna stop on this bridge.
I've done 43 meetings on this, so I've heard all the.
Rick said we were driving through the intersection. I do not want to
my,
stop.
my issue is,
Come on
is
now.
that we have
Talk
this
on it.
we have this happening right now. Everybody's aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the audit. There's been 9 more infractions that I may be wrong, but I believe they are tracked back to the same person. And, this is a repeated problem. And ethically, there's nothing being done about it. And I do believe that there are ethics complaints being filed about it, but nothing's happening. So it would be the charge of the charter board to make sure that this is structured so that we can avoid that from happening.
You've seen that we put the IG piece that would be entirely new into the charter.
Yeah.
And we met with budget staff on Thursday, and they're working on the fiscal note for that because it'd be a new position.
Yep.
It would be a cost, but it'd be an investment.
Well, that's it. I was just going to jump right to that. You said the magic word, cost.
It'd be a cost.
It'd be a cost. So, that's one thing that's a big concern. I hear a big concern. We're already in the negative. We're in the hole. The county's in the hole. And how are we going to have a bigger government with the same
paying
amount
for
of
other
money?
stuff and nobody's even explaining how we're paying for it? I think we have money. I think we're the wealthiest black county in the country. I think we have money. I think the problem is that whenever it comes to using money on good things, you have politicians who say, no. But if we're talking about expanding airports, the cost of that, yes. So it's depending on what the government wants to spend money on. We see, and I don't want to go into the whole lawsuit thing, but if we want to, we can. But
we'll keep going, Charter. But go on, do your thing.
A single person from the government side say we can't afford to do this. They're saying we got to do it, and I haven't heard one person say, "Hey, this is the problems we're going to have if we pay for it." We have money.
Well, we're going to be $30 million in the hole next year. That's from the county's own mouth.
Well, they're still working through all the budget meetings right now, and I know they've talked about the preliminary projections because of the income tax drop, and I'm assuming there's also some increases because you saw your 3-year assessment on your property taxes, so that's revenue that's rising, right? And we're going to get our share of that. So there's pluses and minuses there, we have a $200 million rainy day fund that's probably going to come down a bit because of that shortfall. So we're not going to be in the negative because we're required to have a balanced budget.
Yeah.
So we have to make choices.
All right.
But taxes are going to go up.
All right.
How you've asked?
I'll let her talk.
You've asked for a.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. No, this is for the people right here. Don't mind me.
So what is taxes going up?
You've asked for a cost analysis.
Yes. So what does taxes going up mean? A vote to increase the tax rate?
I believe tax rates will go up.
So, but is that automatic or is that a vote? How does the tax rate go up?
I'm not sure how that's going, but I'm telling you that if we grow the government and the bureaucracy, and we have these beautiful salaries we were just talking about for all these extra people, then
We've talked about 2 salaries.
Yeah, we have. Yeah,
we haven't talked about the council yet, which could go down.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
But,
We're getting there.
But this is all adding costs
Mm-hmm.
onto it, because right now the commissioners are a part-time position,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the pay is pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about raising those costs significantly, and we got to know where that money's coming from. I know you've asked for a cost analysis.
Mm-hmm.
What are you getting?
We're going to get a cost analysis. They started to cost out the IG.
Okay.
That's the first one we worked on Thursday. That's going to be a new position.
Yep.
It's going to pay for itself. We heard that from Montgomery County that, she's a large IG office, a $3 million budget. That's not Charles County. And she has saved and identified over $100 million in waste, including theft. So that's
You say including what?
theft.
Theft.
Yes.
Who's stealing?
County employees.
Everybody.
Like
Right.
misusing credit cards.
So
For Ocean City trips.
So, in booking facilities that could have been out for rent in Montgomery County's case to the public for activities. So, that's going to pay for itself. That's an investment that we need. We should have already had it.
And you may be right about that, but I know I've also heard talk about, that we're going to need a new government building.
That has nothing to do with charter. That has to do with how old that building is and do we need it. The county's already been talking about that. We can't assign that cost to charter because soon, at some point, they're going to have to renovate or think about different space, right? That's an ongoing conversation. So that was something that I asked about in a very honest and open way, and there's individuals that took that comment completely out of context.
And I've heard that, so that's why I'm asking that.
Yeah, and it's on the record to read. I think the quote that was in the paper was an honest quote, but it's been completely misinterpreted as it has anything to do with charter.
Yeah. And I know we're not Montgomery County. We don't have the population of Montgomery County. We don't have the tax base of Montgomery County, but we obviously have some malfeasance going on with budgets and the way money is used, and being able to track that would probably be a good idea.
We have a lot less visibility in our budget right now under code than we do under a charter form. So there is a town hall requirement early in the process. It's written as December for the executive to show the budget to the public and have a town hall. The public doesn't get to see the budget until now under code because the administrator, effectively the county executive, keeps everything internal in her conversations with departments and doesn't put the budget before the commissioners until they start these work meetings in late April, right? And then the town hall is going to be in May. And we heard Jake say, to his credit, at Commissioner Stewart's town hall, the staff makes it hard for the commissioners to change things. So there's very little input and visibility that the public gets.
So that's the
budget.
bureaucracy controlling it.
So if you create this executive piece that has to create a budget based on the priorities they ran on, you see it sooner and you have more bites at the apple on how you shape the budget. You don't have that now. You don't have that now. It's all inside baseball until it comes up in May. So I think that's a feature and a benefit to this system.
This is a good idea. The county is preparing to spend millions of dollars on a new courthouse when they could simply give the courthouse the current government building.
That's an awesome idea. But where are you going to put the government? So again, you got to plan for that. That's a big capital.
Well, that's what you were.
expenditure.
You
and
were
that-
saying we need a new government building.
And at that point, that point alludes to what I said, that this is an ongoing conversation under this form of a government.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with charter, as much as people want to assign it to charter.
Yep. And she suggests, and then save some of those millions by simply renovating large spaces in the mall and centralized seat of county
We got to
government.
do something with that. We got to get creative.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
Mixed-use
like
development.
micro apartments. I don't know if it's senior. I don't know if it's a sports complex.
We
I
have a
don't know
lot
if
of
it's an
senior
amphitheater.
living already currently.
Sports
But I
complex
don't,
would be
you know
dope.
what?
I don't know what it is,
I
but we can do
understand.
something.
I understand that's for the seniors. We also need to realize we don't have an area for younger people to really live in the county either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we also need that.
But let me get back to, you made a point about tax base. We need
Make that point, then we move on to
so
county.
we need to make this
there
investment
it is.
because all we have are property taxes to rely on.
Yeah.
And we've seen executives be able to bring back more of your tax dollars from Annapolis, whether it's transportation grants, whether it's education funding. We've seen executives be more competitive as a top lobbyist and bringing industry to counties. Whether they come to Charles, we'll find out. But you need someone speaking in one voice.
Yeah. And as
Right.
put to Deborah's point that she's made many times, we need a real economic development commission.
Yes. She highlighted some things about EDD's budget that were surprising to me at the last meeting about how they build their budget and what they kind of take credit for in terms of the size of that budget, but all of it's not economic development
Exactly.
activity.
Yeah.
That was
So
new
hopefully that
information.
translates into your charter
Yeah.
discussions.
But there did have to be to answer the question I asked you, there has to be a vote to raise taxes. There's nothing in a charter that makes a tax increase automatic. You got to vote for it, right? These
Yeah.
commissioners voted last time to raise the tax rate in 2014. That's the last time the tax rate went up, but your taxes have gone up because of assessments.
And they tell us every year
Because of assessments.
that they are not raising the assessments. We're keeping your property taxes the same, and they won't adopt the constant yield.
They won't vote on that.
They won't vote on
They won't
adopting
vote
the
on that.
constant yield, so the assessments go up.
Mhm.
We see higher property taxes. We're spending more money. That it doesn't matter that the property tax rate didn't go up.
Yeah.
That's meaning.
So I'd argue that based on those 3-year assessments that just came in, your charter's already been paid for.
You may be
The
right.
revenues are coming. Code has grown 65, 70%. Your government's already grown that much over 10 years under code. It's already happened.
You might be right.
It already happened.
Yeah.
So
I like all that. Someone said a rabbit hole. That thing came back full circle on the tire. Everything we're talking here is counting the high relation charter versus
So-
code.
One
Somebody
thing,
hire a CPA.
a pro-rata portion of office space for new positions associated with charter should probably be in the cost analysis.
I can tell you, based on my conversation with county staff on Thursday, they're thinking about FTEs, they're thinking about space, they're thinking about all of that.
Okay.
We're getting fiscal notes.
One
All right,
thing,
good.
my last, one of my points on the last.
Damn, Carlos.
Don't do that to me. They've been over here rabbit holing.
No.
So one thing I'll say is, I hope the county also takes some point. Some people can work from home and work virtually as well, so that may save some
Yeah.
money. That's it.
Yep.
All right, Greg, this is what we have here. County Council.
First thing I really want to highlight is in 204, we keep the 4 districts and 1 at large. No change there. We do have people on the board that feel like we should expand it, but we address that with the redistricting commission. So as we get new census data, we'll think about if we should go 5 council districts, if we should go 6.
That's
based
a whole
on
different
data.
process, though.
There's a review commission built in here. They provide the recommendations to the council. The council decides on whether to act on it.
Okay.
So we built in what growth might look like, but we don't change in the charter 4+1.
Okay.
It stays the same. Scroll down a bit. We keep 204B. We keep in district district-based voting. District-based voting. Charles County was already moving to that. It's in the charter and it's permanent. So your commissioners voted to do that. They could vote to change that. That's the trick of a charter. Elected officials can't change the rules. Residents write it in, and only residents can change it. If you scroll down a bit more, we don't say an age in this one.
Hooray.
So if you read 205B, it says they must be a resident for a
205B,
year.
there we go.
I'm sorry, 205A. I'm sorry.
Scroll
They must be a resident for a year and a registered voter. So that effectively means 19 years
Well,
old.
hold on. Is it saying you have to be a registered voter for a year?
A resident for a year and a registered voter.
Why put it at 19? Just asking.
So that's effectively 19.
Yeah, but why?
Well, I think the 1 year residency requirement mattered to people.
Well, no. I mean, you could live here your whole life and be 18, and you met that 1 year requirement.
Yeah, I think
So why add the registered voter part to make it so that you're 19?
I think some of our board members felt strongly about that. I was open. I think 19 works fine. I think 19
To
works
me,
fine.
that
I'm not
seems
worried
like-
about the 1 year difference getting
To
less.
me, that seems like a more. We just don't like the number 18. Like it's no. There's no reason to, because it's like, what's the difference between when you're 18 and 19, other than a year? You circled the earth one more time.
Well, in that case,
Or the
why
sun.
not just make it 21 across the board?
No, why not just leave
to
it
be,
at
to
18?
be the
think
same. To be the same.
No.
I think the only distinction here, if I'm doing a lower age for this, is with the management side, maybe someone a little bit older. I mean, if you all have a strong view on this, I know you will.
Yeah,
Send us
because
a
in
comment.
3 years, bro, I got experience.
They might come.
You
out-
knocked on over 6,000 doors in this county.
They might have a bachelor's degree. They might have a bachelor's degree, and you might say, well, that might be worth something. They might have studied business in public accounting, and you might say that's worth. A voter might look at that and say that's worth something. The voter is going to make the decision, right? So I think I think the 3 years
I get that
does
for the
matter.
executive, sure. I'm cool with that. Doesn't matter if I'm cool with it or not. But the council, I guess that's just the one part I just don't understand, because it seems like it's just arbitrary, like 19. It's just saying it. It's not like a rhyme or reason. I can get the 21 thing, you're old enough to drink and all that, and you could have gone to school for something, da da da. 19 is literally just saying, hey, extra year.
Maybe they have an associate's. I'm messing with you now.
I was saying 19.
You know, they might have done that advanced thing in high school, and then they get the 1 year for it.
Let's go.
Hey, you know.
So you want to see it at 18?
18. Just a simple, have to be a resident for a year. That's it.
Angela, any thoughts?
I think 21 is good.
You like to see,
well,
you like
we
to see the
done
same for
gone-
council.
We went the
Yeah.
wrong way.
I've heard a few say the same for council.
I think you learn a lot between 18 and 21.
I mean, Brandon Palmer was 19 when he went in.
That's 19.
That's the exception.
Don't mess with me, Brandon. Greg said, look, we got there.
This is I don't know. I just think.
But also, the way I feel like the conversation went to, are you able to be in office? Again, you have to get the votes for it.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe that is something towards your point of
Greg,
view.
let's know what that number one more time.
Hey, it does say at the top. It says working group
I'll
draft.
take you. All of us will.
All right, let's keep scrolling down, see if anything else here we want to hit. If anything pops up to you, Greg, anything interesting you want to add,
Some
feel
of the
free.
same issues popped up about making sure you maintain primary residence, so we wrote that in the forfeiture piece. We thought about putting it in the qualifications. We think it's understood you need to be a primary resident when you go to the Board of Elections, but we put later on in the forfeiture piece that you need to maintain residency, and that can get you removed. Term of office, if you scroll down, 206B is what we talked a lot about, and I think it's fair to say Angela and Carlos have some different perspectives. Neither are wrong, but have some different perspectives on what this could do to qualify people. So if you read, no council member may serve more than 2 consecutive 4-year terms. If they're lucky enough to win re-election, they can't run for a third. They have to sit down, right? It's no choose to. You have to.
It's a nice
and,
pause.
and then you get someone new for 4 years, and they might do a great job, and all of a sudden they have name recognition. So the whole name recognition thing works both ways.
No, you're right. But also the money part doesn't, to where my 4 years sitting out, I'm just racking up money and money and money.
Are they really? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, you could have someone who could. I mean, you could have. I mean, that's why I'm pushing, and I don't know if this is a separate conversation or not, about how campaign finance reform for the charter too.
Why not? We're talking about it. Bring it up.
But to say, if we go to a charter and we're all talking about executive having more power, council having a certain range of power, you may get more special interests flooding in the election to say,
more than the developers have done in Charles County over all these years of mass development.
You may get more. You may get more developers. You may get.
That's a good point by Greg, though. It's already going on now.
I don't know.
No, it is going on now.
You look at everything people complain about in Charles County with development sprawl, influence with them in PGM. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it would be any different, given the size of the county.
I mean. It could be more if, depending on
hypotheticals.
Someone could say. I mean, we could also. I mean, it's a hypothetical saying it'd be the same amount.
I'm saying, is it data driven? Like, if you can show us that, we like to see it. I can tell you what we are thinking about putting in the charter is we are thinking about, and I had someone DM me today because we take feedback from everywhere, Ricky. Right? Mm-hmm. You asked earlier. Someone inboxed me today and said, "Can you do something to strengthen the Ethics Commission under the charter and their financial disclosure reporting that's required?"
Yeah.
And I did some digging. This is just today, and we're going to explore it as a board. If you look at charters, the executive typically appoints the Ethics Commission member. So I'm going to go to the group. I've already asked legal about this. They thought it's workable. I'm going to go to the group, and we're going to talk about, can the council appoint 2 seats of the Ethics Commission? And then the executive appoints 2 seats. So we balance that out. One's by the Charles County Board, Charles County Bar Association. And then we put some requirements to make public disclosures more easily accessible. Because if you look at a county like Montgomery, you can go to a website, click the link, all the data for the public financial disclosures are there. Charles County's just says, under their operating procedures, their attorney keeps the financial disclosure.
You have to file a PIA.
And it's hard to get it.
And then you get a bunch of gibbity gawks.
So I bring that up to say, to your point about campaign finance, like, we're getting some ideas, including today, and I think we're going to strengthen that in the charter.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when you go to campaign finance, one thing in community, shout out to community too, has been pushing is to prohibit candidates for council and executive from taking developer company money, utility company money, from taking PAC money as well. And those are ways to say, hey, let's start limiting who has influence, because
taking money from other commissioners or council members, somebody who's already elected.
I get where you're going. I'm the last person to say that shouldn't happen, so I'm with you there too.
Who you take money from?
I was taking money from individual people and residents of Charles County and around who support a left.
We have current elected
$27.
We have we have current elected commissioners who received donations.
I mean, a lot
from
of them,
other commissioners.
Yeah, Coach Patterson. Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
A couple thousand.
I would just say
5,000.
Putting in those specific benchmarks as far as developer is concerned, as far as utility companies.
What do you mean
concerned,
by benchmark?
Not benchmark. I mean, those like hard, like, no, you cannot take money from it. Would help to limit how much influence they have, because you could have some people who, we look at Congress level. I know it's separate from this, that you got Congress people who take the most money from medical companies and insurance companies. They're the last ones to talk about any type of healthcare reform. You have people who take money from oil companies. They're the last one to talk about renewable energy. So for a lot of people who have gone in front of the commissioners and say, hey, why are you all signing off on these bonds? Why are you all doing this? I'm not going to say it's because of corruption, because I can't, prove it day to day right now. But for a lot of people, it kind of, the puzzle start putting its pieces together, where you're taking money from this person, but you're also voting on this way.
So what's your suggestion for the charter?
My suggestion would be to prohibit candidates for executive and council from receiving money from developer companies, utility companies that contract with the Charles County government. And I'll say for this, like one of the companies, Childress Parker and Associates, who I'm sure all of us are familiar with, they not only lobby for the government to this General Assembly, they also donate to candidates, campaigns as well. They also lobby on other people's who hire them to advocate, and ban them from taking money from PACs. And that if you do take money from it, And I would say this: it should be more of like a citizens' response thing. So if the OIG could have a centralized document or form that people could fill out to say, "Hey, this candidate is taking money from here," the OIG can go investigate it to see if that's really happening or not, and then they issue a letter or some public statement and also direct statement.
For the record.
Don't mess with me. They do a public statement for the record, and they also notify the candidate's campaign to say, hey, you have X number of days, whether it's 10, 15 days to show us proof that you have refunded that money, and if not, it's looked at, you're disqualified from running for office. Because how do we trust you to do the right thing when you get in if you're already saying as a candidate, I'm breaking the rules and taking money?
Well, you know that we're limited by state election law and what we can put in the charter when it comes to campaign.
Yeah, I would love to see if that's something that could be.
So you know that.
Yeah.
You also know our OIG authority is pretty broad, so there could be some investigation. We might need some enabling legislation. There could be some investigation by the IG. But you have pointed to Prince George's after the Jack Johnson ordeal. The Maryland General Assembly passed a law that said Prince George's County executives cannot take developer money. So that was not in their charter. I don't think it was possible in their charter. So this is one of the areas where state election law is what's guiding, not
I would love
charter.
to hear, and I'm not saying that you're wrong or right on this. I would love to hear what like legal says, if that is
I mean, legal and I have talked about this. But,
Okay.
but I'm going to bring up the Ethics Commission strengthening at the next meeting, and we can use that to also talk about the campaign finance piece because they've given us an opinion on this.
Awesome.
Yep.
Wait, did we skip over the 2 terms, or we already talked about that?
Well, I said 2 terms here. We talked about that.
We beat that one
Okay,
down.
cool.
We mentioned.
I hope it goes to 2 just hard term.
You mentioned the
limit,
pause and going out and campaigning with developer money for 4 years and then coming back.
And say,
So D and E on 206 are some ideas that came from you, some ideas that I've read and what you've talked about.
Oh, this is the absences.
Absences, no matter if it's sick, it's just 4 absences, and required town halls in each for each district.
I think we have a problem right now, and I think we need to address that, is that when you are attending the meeting, even if you're doing it virtually, you're attending the whole meeting.
We had that problem last Board of Commissioners with a different commissioner, I think, than you're talking about.
I think you should have to be on video.
I understand, but
We
have a commissioner that regularly steps out during public comments.
Which one?
say a
Coach.
name.
No.
Coach,
Just declare for the people.
and then comes back on when the county business resumes again.
Mm-hmm.
So
you and I have lived here for a long time, right? And I've taken y'all's feedback based on what's happening here in this board. But again, this isn't new to this board, right? Mm-hmm. If you wanted to see a town hall from Commissioner Rucci, you had to go to his restaurant.
and
What
that's
you said
fine.
before.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, with sausage.
I'm sorry. It's great food. So
I mean,
there weren't town halls there. I think when I watched,
No, I didn't say town halls.
Well, I'm gonna get to all of it's about presence. All of it's about
that
presence. Right?
But if you're going to attend the meetings,
Yeah.
you've got to be there through the whole meeting.
So I've watched Commissioner Stewart during the COVID days have her camera off at periods and not appear present. So where I was in the House of Representatives, we had requirements to be recognized, to be counted for gavel down, and to talk. Your camera had to be on, or you weren't considered present. You couldn't be in multiple hearings at the same time. Your time is dedicated for this, right? So this issue is about no rules for boards of commissioners, whether it's this board or previous, right? This isn't about the personalities. This is about, we expect you to do your job. and be present.
exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting to. Yeah.
But I mean, I just say that because there's a lot of names thrown out about the current thing, and I get it. We deal with it.
I know that,
But this ain't about the
but,
current
like-
board. It's about all boards, right? We've seen this.
No,
over
it's
the
not
years.
all boards,
This
but you
previous
also
and
gotta. I've worked from home for a long time.
Yeah.
That if you're in a marathon conference call that's hours long and you got to go to the bathroom, you're going to go off camera for a minute. You're going to go to the bathroom.
well,
Yeah, I mean, you gotta take care of your
So
business.
you better turn your camera off, go on mute, go to the bathroom, come right back.
So here,
Yes.
so here's the
Just
the
like
thing that
commissioners do now.
listen to you all because y'all have been big voices on this. So we wrote this in, and the question is, do you overturn elections because of?
Yes.
Do you do that? I don't know. Do we have attendance records right now that the public can look and see?
Oh, hold on. Greg,
Oh,
you
say,
talking
quick-
about- hold on. Greg, you talking about for the record?
For the record.
Only for the record.
For the record. Because we asked the county attorney on Thursday, is there somewhere we can go find an attendance record? The answer is no.
No.
Is there somewhere you can find if there's town hall requirements? Well, there are none, and then you can't find if they happened or not. You'd have to kind of track through and do the work. You do the work. You dig through minutes, right?
Yeah.
So what we've written is, here's the requirements. Here's what we expect you to do as a part of the job description. And what you're going to see next meeting is we're going to write that there's going to have to be this public official for the record shaming, did you show up for your job or not? Right.
And what happens after that?
That's information, just like you said, for information to create pressure. This is a similar concept.
Is there going to be some kind of? Is there going to be some kind of?
Exactly
what kind of consequence are you going to have for?
I see exactly the same as your proposal. It provides information that creates pressure.
I would say that's a little bit different because having the public hearing just because you missed the 4 days, it could be said, okay, cool, we had a public hearing, we missed the 4 days. But what I'm talking about is more for the removal recommendation is more, hey, we are holding you accountable to say, hey, we can start a process. Or
you can't start a process.
Well, from what you're talking about, it's not really attendance requirement. It's kind of attendance suggestion. It's just saying
we called it an attendance guideline. Right.
Oh,
now,
and it's the same public information that you do not have now.
Angela, Angela brought up something like what actually happens. Like, is there a dock and pay? You lose pay for a month, and then
one idea,
and then you go down, keep going down the slide until we actually. All right.
Well, maybe not
office.
a pay dock, but maybe a fine.
We've played with the idea, and I think you're going to see us talk about it when we write the resolution part to show the record, because there's no record exists. Do you lose staff support for some period of time because you're not showing up for meetings, and now all of a sudden you don't have county resources to support you? I don't know.
Wow, that is harsh on the district.
So we're trying to think through what are those things that make sense to give this a little bit more teeth.
But I think a fine would be applicable. Where is that money going to go? Maybe make a list of things you can donate it to. You can donate it to the women's shelter. You can donate it to the animal shelter. You could donate it to whatever causes. You've got a list of 10 things that your fine can be donated, and that's what you're.
Well, I see that as you could make an argument where it's like, ooh, we got some people in office. And
somebody turn that around
who got a lot of money who could say, how much you want? $200? Here you go. $200 here. And do we let that elected official write that off on their taxes too? To say, hey, I made $200 donation somewhere.
No, it's not a donation. It's a fine.
Okay.
At the end,
and the headlines itself is going to.
Yeah.
But at what point do we start saying, and I get this because I've talked to a lot of people who every time I say, okay, or the community says, hey, we need to have some hard lines you can give, remove. It's like, whoa. Let's not do all that. Let's look at all of our jobs here. If we just not showed up for a time period, we're not going to get hey, we're going to make it public to the whole company that you're out. You're getting a sit down with HR that says, hey, you got to go.
Everyone agrees with that sentiment. The problem is, can we actually execute that, right?
Yeah.
And you were going to have that conversation at the next meeting. If you have a specific suggestion, send it. But let me ask you this. What information do you have right now on the commissioners fulfilling the duties of their job? None. So
what does that have to do with this?
So what we're trying to give voters information that they can rely on so they can make informed decisions. So it's not just, it's just the name. Oh, no, I actually can track in one place that they didn't show up for their job. You don't have that type of information.
Yeah, Deborah said she was asked about that and was told to look through the minutes.
So I guess
exactly. Deborah's been pretty candid with me, and she shared that with me when her and I were together at a meeting. And most folks, most casual voters, or folks getting back like me from D.C., getting home at 7 o'clock, trying to whip up dinner real quick for the kids to come here to see Ricky at 7:30 and you all, and it was hard today, don't have the time to do that. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to make it easy for voters to be informed voters.
Yeah.
Right.
I get that, and
it creates pressure like yours. You might not agree because it's your idea. I get it, but it creates the same type of pressure.
I'm not saying
that.
The
same type of for the record.
No, you're right. It is for the record, and it is some pressure to it too. But I would say that for certain things, we do need to have some kind of like hard line to say, hey, you can't just keep doing this, and we're gonna just say, oh, we'll make it public. We'll make it public. We'll make it public. We'll make it public. Well, at what point do we say, hey, look, you've been gone half the whole time? No, it's a hard cutoff. You have to start acting, and I think. At a certain point, I understand people. People do not, far be it from me to understand why people have this kind of sentimental thing when it comes to elected officials of not saying, hey, there is a cutoff for you. You don't just get to do what you want. It has to be some form of, you know what? You have missed so many days. You're
fired.
You basically vacated the office. You've chosen to quit. Because I know all of our jobs, especially on Congress level, you can't just be gone. I don't know how you are, but you can't just be gone all the time or whenever you want. And then it's like, hey, we'll have a public hearing. We'll have a hearing with your other employees and let you feel publicly shamed.
Well, you know, you're going to create that pressure, as you said, and you're going to lobby the council, and they're going to have the votes to remove that person based on not doing their job under the removal provision.
So would you say that
because you're that good at creating, you know, that type of momentum?
Yeah.
So you have information and then a process in this document. If you think it's not enough, you can send us that feedback, and I know you will.
So, this is what I want to do right now. We're about 2 hours.
Wow, we ain't getting a moment.
Yo,
we got to do this again.
So
we got to follow up because this is a lot of
This is a proposal. So we only got through 2 drafts here, some comments, and barely even 2. What I would like to do, since this is an ongoing conversation, is a working document, open invitation next month for the 3 of you to kind of pick up where we left off from here.
Hell yeah.
Sure.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And I'll say, you know, these are the 2 big pieces that everyone's talking about. So it's not. We spend a lot of time on like the core muscle.
We got to cook it correctly.
Oh, good stuff. Yeah.
we got to cook it right. You know.
Well, hold on. We're covering on one thing before we cut out.
No. We're not leaving right now. But go and say what you want to. I'm going to do something different, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Cool.
Sales charter though.
Yeah. The one thing is also, is there a reason that for the council it does not say a special election either if someone has vacated
We'll
office?
go back to the table on that.
Okay.
We'll
Was
go
there
back
a
to the
reason
table
that,
on that.
it, because I believe you said before, like months ago, it had been special election because
I think in an early draft of the executive team was.
Why
and,
did it change?
This team keeps going back to take feedback. And I think we removed the central committees, and that creates a certain amount of heartburn because you want to make sure that the person that's appointed is of the same party. And central committees have a role throughout the state of Maryland, every county, in appointing. You know, people have views about our central committee, but
why would it be required that the next person that's appointed is of the same party?
Well, that creates all kinds of.
It's kind of like, filling out the same so people.
So say the person dies.
If
we're going to have a special election.
Well, in this case, we're talking an appointment, a nominee and appointment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you made us a comment section quickly. Then Greg, I'm gonna pass it on to you. Sure. Anyone has any open questions or concerns with charter that you like the 3 guests we have here to take on and answer? Please just type in anything we didn't cover yet. Just type in your question and we'll go from there. Greg, everything that you came across, can you see?
Yeah. It's a little bit clearer, but I can see it. I'm just excited about this because I haven't really been watching it. It's like information overload.
We've had about over 30, so everybody, if you're watching too, please feel free to share the podcast. Helps everyone get the word out about what's going on here as far as charter and the ballot in November 2024. Greg, everything you've seen so far, what are some of the biggest misconceptions on your end that you've seen with charter?
About charter? The biggest one is that a county executive can appoint a police chief even if we don't put it in the charter. They cannot. And you mentioned state law. We had a couple links to state law. Maryland state law does not permit Charles County to appoint a police department. They have a specific law that says Charles County cannot. Charter is the only way for us to do it. It's not in there. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell y'all what, this happened in 2014. This document's going to go to the commissioners and go to the public, and there's going to be people in the community that are going to wave it around and say this includes the police department. It's a flat out false statement. But they're going to use that as a scare tactic because that's what happened in 2014. We're already getting that type of rumbling right now, right? So that's I wouldn't say that's a misconception. That's a scare tactic. Same with fire. We don't include career fire. Charles County benefits from the volunteer fire system. We don't put it in. It has nothing to do with charter. At some point, we might need career because we have a lot of homes in Charles. But it has nothing to do with form of government. So those public safety issues are used as scare tactics, and it's unfortunate.
I don't know what you want me to do about it.
Angela, go ahead and take care of your business. We'll be here. Give you the final word when you get back. We want to do that to you.
Go ahead.
Go in that door.
Do we have to recess? I'm just kidding.
Go inside and Jenny.
All right, get the gavel.
Recess to the call of the chair.
Yeah, this man.
I'm just kidding.
You see,
we need to go have a caucus meeting real quick.
This man's still on the hill.
No, but those two are two big scare tactics that will be used again. And I just hope people are better informed on what is and what is not in the charter.
Jim Crawford says council should be nonpartisan.
Jim has had creative ideas about how to structure the council. He thinks.
I think. Well, I'm almost in a moderating spot, so I'll let you go. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I know I talk.
Yeah, no, you're fine. That's what you're here for.
But Jim has creative ideas on, what the size of the council should be and making it nonpartisan to kind of depoliticize it. I don't think that's going to happen. Jim has a lot of feedback that we have taken. He drafted the preamble that we have here. He's helped with some guest speakers. He continues to provide constant feedback, but that's going to be a hard one, Jim. I know we're still talking, but there may even be some limitations on what we can do with state election law. We can ask council, Jim.
Kathy Joe, you ain't right.
I need to stop. So,
Kathy, you ain't right.
This
Go
is
ahead.
hard to track all this, man. You're used to looking at it.
I'm kind of reading through, filter and ads from there, but you can always go back and.
Oh, after?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
See, Greg gonna be at 1:00. I know you did not say that.
I'm a burn through. Y'all gonna get so many notifications. Ding, ding, ding.
Just at me and I know I got it. But I guess I'll mention one thing that Kathy just said that we talk about nepotism. That's one thing I really feel like the charter should have some firm ways to stop nepotism.
What's firm?
How do you stop it?
Well,
how many levels down?
Now to me, sad part is knowing how this county is, where people cousin, auntie, uncle is also their cousin, auntie, uncle on some other side.
Brother, sister's cousin.
Y'all be
your aunt and your aunt and your sister the same person. I mean, let me tell you. So I do think that for immediate family, your aunts, uncles, your cousins, your brothers, sisters, your mother, father, husband, wife, all that should definitely be included of. Those people cannot hold high up positions within the county government. You cannot hire them as your chief of staff or as your directly under person.
Okay.
I would also say when it comes to, and I want to see how people feel about that, of the businesses and nonprofits that will receive government grant money, making sure that just because you are the husband or wife or whatever of a council member or an executive, your business shouldn't be able to get government money. And I know that there was a conversation on Facebook about making some caveats around EPG or the business something grant where you get if you just complete a course, $10,000.
Oh, the BCAT?
Yeah, doing stuff like that. I understand that because it's separate from you just receiving specific money. But we have some family members of commissioners who have businesses or nonprofits that receive government money as well. We shouldn't be having that because how do we know that they could be getting money because they're a great organization and all that, but they also could be getting money just because you were born in the right place at the right time, connected to the right people.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can avoid that.
Yeah, that's hard to stop somebody's family from profiting just based on their other position.
Grant money, as far as getting government money specifically. I would say that way. It could be, hey, we noticed that council member A is the sister of this person. You're not able to get you're not able to get money profit or Charles County government. We can't contract with.
Let's do a podcast on the charitable trust.
Okay, I mean, I got stuff about that too because I don't think
that's
people
a can
who
of
are.
worms.
Oh, Rick, what do you think about this too at the charter? Making it
They take me out back. That'd be it.
We're putting
Not by choice,
we're putting
though.
Derek to sleep.
I'm gonna say I ain't standing next to you if you talk about this. No, I will because I got beef for it. But the thing of having it so that Charles County former officials cannot be department heads as well. Because what we could see is hey, 2026 comes, you see a lot of resignations. Whoever the county executive say, oh, I'll pick this former delegate, I'll pick this former commissioner, I'll pick this former person. And are we really getting new ideas, or are we just, hey, I'm taking care of you because you?
That's probably right. I mean, I'm not the county attorney, but that's not state election law and qualifications to run for office. So maybe there's some legs there. I do think that, again, there's a talent pool question here.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. I hear what you're saying, and it's valid, but at what point do you run out of people who want the job?
I mean, if we look at former elected officials in Charles County, we got a whole lot. If you look at family members, I get that. Yes, you are limiting talent if we call some of the people talented. But what we also do is we're saying we're not going to have this just rotating circle of the same people we see. You hold power here, you're going to hold power here. You're going to do this here, you're going to do that there. You're this person, so you get this.
But it all works together, Carlos. I mean, at some point you have to acknowledge, again, it's a balancing act with a lot of different pieces, a lot of different qualifications, and a lot of different terms. So some of that's going to control people constantly being able to run. And some of those people are going to go decide to run for other offices at higher levels. And some of the new people that are going to come in aren't beholden to those old faces.
Oh, you're right.
Right. So I know these are hypotheticals. I'm not saying they're invalid, but I think those might be more like anomaly type things that you're suggesting. And I think the talent pool thing might be a bigger issue.
No, you're right. That's what I think. Or, well, what do you...
Maybe with the right amount of transparency, we could avoid too much conflict.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to... And I get you all. Because I know I can come across as, hey, I don't trust these people, but I feel like this. When we... I know it was a comment of the last charter board, we got to trust. We can vote for anybody, and we don't know your true intentions until we see.
Honestly, that comment to me is code, because there's no rules in code. You just keep trusting that you vote for the right person, and then 4 years later, you're like, "What did I get?" with no information. So I was like, many of us reacted negatively to that. Right. I'm not saying it was I'm not saying it was a bad comment from her. She probably does feel you should trust people, but. We've had a system for so long with no rules. It's time to put some rules in.
Right.
I think most of the board disagree with that.
Yeah, David says we want longevity with department heads. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Qualified.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Got to pay them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do they have to all be former elected officials, family members? I don't know about that.
No, but I mean, there's somebody in office that you come across as decent. That work in the office, I mean, it's not the worst thing.
No, you're
in the world,
right.
is it?
You have a lot of people. I just think.
I know what you mean, though, Carlos.
Yeah, as a former elected official, you have that kind of weight to even new elected officials be like, oh, I'm about to vote against that elected official. And
I got to tell y'all that the public reaction to what is also public information on what the administrator makes, what the county attorney makes, compared to what someone who works for Public Works makes. Like, people are looking at this now saying, wow, we are really top heavy, and maybe too highly paid on that management side. And like, what about the other workers? Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you want your charter putting in it what the salary is for department heads, because that gets burnt in. It gets hard to change. Right?
Does the council get a vote on what the department heads make?
Maybe it could.
No,
maybe it could be
the administrator controls all that.
But isn't that no? I'm talking about for if we go to charter.
Oh, well,
Because the council does get oversight on budget too.
they get oversight on budget, and they get oversight on that confirmation, which will include the contract negotiated with the executive and department head. So so there's daylight, there's sunshine. We actually see it. You see none of that now.
So, yeah.
No,
But
we don't have
that's-
that. We need
okay.
that sunshine and have that. But maybe the salary for the department heads could be written into the charter to be competitive with, and I don't know how to say this, competitive with similar positions in the private sector.
Okay.
In this region. I don't know how to say that.
No, that makes
Correctly.
sense. You want to just be competitive.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean-
not a number, but saying that it's
Some
based
language.
on
Some guideline.
based on average salary for this position within this region.
It was
I
like
thought
a
you were going to
contract
say
job.
something else. I thought you were
What?
going to say maybe the salary should be linked or indexed in some way to some top position where things move as sort of like a ratio, like in the same direction. I like the language about just being competitive. Generally.
Yeah,
'Cause we want to give
rather than
flexibility.
putting a number on it,
Yeah.
you're given a guideline
Yeah.
that doesn't get like. People were on here saying that Mark Belton's making $7,000.
Don't even show up
Yeah.
to work.
Is he really making that much?
I think the number is 240, but there's a question about
A
is he
year?
getting
rental
is he getting compensation for a rental as
because
well?
he doesn't live in the.
So when you add up
Yeah.
all of that, it's worth something.
240.
Don't
Good
even show.
lord.
We're going to get an update
You
from
gotta
county
show
staff
up.
on that.
240.
Yeah.
So,
And because of this current legal situation,
You're
he's been
essentially
sitting
paying
at
it
home
twice.
for 2 years getting paid.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault.
don't we always?
No,
And I
this-
said earlier, in full disclosure to everybody, before we even got on this podcast, I said, I don't know if Mark Belton's a good county administrator or not. I don't know anything about him. I don't have that historical knowledge. He might deserve to be fired. I don't know, but we really need him to be working so we can know that.
Agree.
Well, under
That's
this,
not partisan.
but under this system, you really don't know what your
Hey, come on now.
executive branch does because it's all commingled, and that administrator doesn't
Exactly.
report to any of the electeds.
Exactly.
In a way, I mean, you heard the administrator say, she puts together the budget. She makes the hiring decisions.
Yes.
I think most people will react to that and say, the person I vote for, I expect you to be the decision maker.
Yes.
That's why I voted for you.
Which is why
Exactly.
I would say, shouldn't the council have oversight in approving how much department heads make? Because it would be odd to say, let's say person A comes up nominated by the executive. They have their contract. Here's what they're going to make and all that. You could put some council members in an awkward position to say, I don't agree with what you're making, so I'm going to vote against your appointment, because it could be perceived as, why are you voting against this person? No, I don't like how much salary you're making. You need to go back and change.
I mean, I think you're savvy in what happens in sort of like exec legislative dynamics. I think it forces those two bodies to work together before it comes to the table.
Yeah,
right?
so shouldn't the
you kind of
council
knock
and
that
them
out?
vote
You
on-
kind of knock that out before it even gets there. You kind of know what the answer is before you vote, because that's what good staff work
No,
is,
exactly.
right?
So shouldn't
and
the
that
council have
can
a
be a
say?
reason to vote no at the end of the day. If they don't get a good answer from their exec, then when they do that public hearing, it might be a no. Or it might be, you better come back to the table with a better contract.
Yeah.
That kind of plays out in a way that it does not play out right now in code.
No, you're right.
But we would have the transparency to the public would see those contracts. They would know what was in all that. We would be aware of all that, and we're not now.
So the
So
acting county administrator at our last meeting specifically said it does not happen in the public. It happens under normal procedures for code in a closed door session. And I don't mean that in a loaded way, but they go into closed session. That's the term they use. Right?
Let's pause right there, because we'll be at this thing until midnight tomorrow.
My
Yo,
husband's
host,
getting ready
what
to
we're gonna
wake
do?
up.
I'm gonna pass around the room one more time. Everybody, as far as we can sum up everything in the charter, and like I said, we'll let's do a part 2.
Absolutely.
About
I
4
agree.
weeks from now.
Yeah, I think a part
Yeah.
2 is good.
Yeah, we should do it. Same
Updated
group,
language
same
and all.
everybody.
It's
Jane,
gonna-
stay on topic. Yeah, oh my God.
It's going to be hard for us not to keep talking about it exec and council, but it'd be great to talk about the legislative process, the budget process. I think y'all would care a lot about the legislative processing and the
I
community
agree.
input part of it. Like it's a small thing, but it's important. We make public comments permanent. They have to have it at every single meeting when they're in that government building and they can accommodate the public. They
Yeah.
have to have it.
They should read
Yeah.
all.
'Cause y'all
And
are screaming
I'll try to talk into the mic better next time, everybody.
They should read all comments too.
Let's go around the room just real quick. We'll start with you, Angela. Anything you want to say before we sign off out of here tonight?
No. Nope. I would just encourage everybody to read this information ahead of time.
And we'll just keep sharing the link too. How often is this updated, that website?
I would say we've been trying to post new versions of the text before each meeting, so every other week.
Okay.
So I can tell you all, you will get updated ledge process text and budget text before the 25th that has some feedback from legal. And hopefully we have some provisions for the attendance guidelines and the town hall requirements at that meeting. So I would definitely check back before the 25th for some new text.
What's our next milestone, Deborah says?
Next milestone. So we owe you all one more piece of draft text that you have not seen. That's definitions. It's important, but y'all have all of the basic pieces of the charter now to comment on.
Okay.
We are going to wrap up at the end of May. We're going to present it to the commissioners in June, probably their June 11th or June 25th meeting. They can't change it. That's why it's a charter.
All right. David asked for an agenda so they can have questions lined up before the next time.
Oh, agenda for that? Oh.
Oh, an agenda? Sure. I could work something out. Let me think about it. Let me think of how I want to do it.
Or at least
I'm
what
all
we're going to
for it.
go over so that, the sections.
I'll tell you what, we'll pick up next time when we come on here, we'll pick up at Inspector General.
It's cool.
Yeah. And whether that website that we went over today, the Charles County Maryland.gov, we're going over just the draft charter sections from there. So Inspector General, finance, budget. We'll make sure we cook it correctly. We probably won't get into everything. Probably a part 3 and 4, maybe 5 and
Maybe
6.
so.
Maybe we just get together monthly until November.
So, this is really cool that you did this because this is feedback from both of you and them that we changed the document with.
Yep.
If we think it makes sense to do it. But between June and November, people are going to be talking about it. We can do it then too, right? We can do one in late October going into the election and talk about it. I mean, it's not going to end in June. It's just beginning.
But you can't change it after
You can't
that.
change it after that.
Is the charter board having like a final town public meeting? Say, hey, this is the last meeting before we actually finalize the document, so people can give input. Say, hey, I don't like this. Oh, hey, I like that.
So that's something that Angela's group at Green Turtle first asked about that in a public way. I told you at that meeting we're going to work on that.
Yep.
And we've scheduled with the La Plata Firehouse May 11th, a Saturday, to do a big town hall. And we're trying to get one in Bryan's Road. The firehouse says give us some dates, so we're going to try to get a date. And we're going to definitely get one in Waldorf so we can triangulate in May big town halls to come see it.
That's awesome.
And in June, when the charter is released to the commissioners, it comes out to the public at the same time.
Yep. And they have to publish it twice in 30 days, and then you'll see it again in November.
Carlos, any last words for the night?
Thank y'all so much. Please don't just say you're for or against. Please go out and give ideas to the charter board. Make it what you want it to be. Make it community based. I would also say my last thoughts on the charter. I hope that what Matt Nolan Will said gets listened to about having in collective bargaining. So if the workers want to unionize, that they're able to unionize.
That was good feedback.
Yeah.
I need to research that some more.
Yeah, as for me, first of all, thank you all three for getting your schedules on the same page for this to happen. Obviously, throughout the week, I'm like really busy. The other 6 days, we usually being just at my boys' games or practice or whatnot. But no, I appreciate this. I guess the biggest thing here is just informing the public, just presenting the information. Obviously, Greg, you're the chairperson of the charter board. Angela doesn't see eye to eye, but we still have a nice civil discussion of things that we see. And Carlos wants a lot of legislative processes placed in. Obviously, he won't get everything he wants to, but
Carlos wants a lot of stuff.
Hey.
Stop saying Carlos not getting what he wants to. Community needs to get what they want to. That's why shout out to all those people who sit out in the mail.
Carlos, think community. There it is. No, but seriously though, it's important that we all have different angles and see how we all see this one way or another. We all have to live here, so.
Yep.
That's the way our constitutional republic works.
Oh,
Come on now. Hey.
let's go for some good socialism.
Oh,
Hey, everybody, we appreciate y'all. 28 in here still. If you can, please share the podcast. Feel free to keep talking in the comment section. This is going to be live. No plans of deleting. Sorry about Angela's mic. We'll try some things on the back end to fix that.
Right?
They're trying to silence you, Angela.
apparently I'm silencing myself.
Look at Big Brother trying to take your dad.
That's a conspiracy right there. We get Angela in here and we try to take her mic away.
That's our capitalism.
Hey, Charles County, you have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night, y'all.
That was good. Yeah, I say we keep going.
I've been waiting for Ricky to mute us.
Yeah, I know. I know I talked a lot. I know I talked a lot.
That's not. I need to say no. That's these people.
That's what we want. Yeah, that's it. For podcasts, as much as we.
I think
I love Mondays work.
Mondays is like the one free day.
Yes.
Yeah,
Fridays is like a
Mondays,
really
yeah.
bad day to do podcasts.
Monday's
Oh
a
yeah,
good
I
day
can't do
for
it
me.
Fridays.
Oh, for it.
Yeah, everybody's off. Out to
I
eat. To me,
can do it Monday though.
Monday. I'll say, yeah.
I didn't even use my professional.
Oh look, see, Angela over here making me think Carlos need a help.
okay.
You see, Ricky, I'm trying to get a button-up shirt for this. I was like, I'm trying to do something.
It's
John, y'all need to be talking about it. You're like, I don't be looking right.
Oh shit, that's
what
funny.
we have in our
I said, I look like a child. I'm like,
I look like a child right there.
Yeah, I've never met her.
oh look, Kathy Joe said that she fell in love with me. That lady.
Yeah. This is. Yeah.
Maybe after this, she was like, oh, you seem better.
Facebook is.
At first, she was like, you have a brace. Like, oh, can we talk about that? There's no black people out here. Shit. The moment Greg said, like, Obama, and I was like, I didn't think I made a noise until I looked at you, and you're like, oh, you're laughing. So I messed me up, Greg. Obama. I wasn't supposed to be, look, I'm supposed to be nice and not be like, ew, but I gotta be, I gotta do something.
That was